Peace and love, black families. The Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Johnson, King Kong Consciousness. We are in the building for another weekly Black Parent Teleconference, Underground Railroad, where we help black parents rescue their sons, their daughters from the evil machinations of the oppressor. We help them free their children from special education when it's not necessary. We help them free their children from ADHD, from conduct disorder. We give them the steps that they need to take to remove their children from psychiatric medication in consultation with the psychiatrist. We teach parents their rights, due process, learning disabilities, autisms, emotional disturbances, deafness, blindness, other health impairments. We teach parents how to fight against miseducation through due process, through parental letter, through documentation. Nothing is beyond reach of reversing for a parent who understands the law. So before we get started today, let me put the call-in number out. I want to remind everyone that all questions must be pertaining to children. All questions must be pertaining to children. The call-in number for the Tuesday morning Black Parent Teleconference is 857-232-0158, 857-232-0158, 857-232-0158. The access code is 870-864-pound, 870-864-pound. Please mute your phones. Please mute your phones. Please mute your phones when you call in. Couple of announcements effective immediately. Dr. Umar Johnson will no longer be using Eventbrite.com. Effective immediately, Dr. Umar Johnson will no longer be using Eventbrite.com. To get tickets for my events, you want to use EventB. We are no longer on Eventbrite. We are now on EventB. EVENTBEE. DrUmarJohnson.eventb.com. If you need tickets for the Atlanta lecture for Thursday, December 28th, you go to Dr. Umar Atlanta 2017.eventb.com. If you need tickets for Detroit, Dr. Umar Detroit 2017.eventb.com. If you need tickets for Houston, Saturday, December 30th, Houston, Texas, Dr. Umar Houston 2017.eventb.com. For my Philadelphia family, I will be at Warm Daddies on Monday. For my Philadelphia family, my South Jersey family, my Northeastern Maryland family, my Pennsylvania family, I will be at Warm Daddies. For Kindred Presents, everybody know the hit R&B group Kindred out of Philadelphia. They host a series of interviews and entertainment nights. I believe it's every Monday at Warm Daddies on South Columbus Boulevard. So Dr. Umar Johnson will be interviewed by Kindred at Warm Daddies, 1400 South Columbus Boulevard, right next to the Delaware Avenue Movie Theater. And that is this coming Monday at 7. Doors open up at 6. Okay, Jill is Black and Hezekiah will also be there. So you can get your tickets. Okay, you can get your tickets. Just scroll through my timeline and you will see it. But let me pull up the link so you know exactly where to go to get your tickets for Dr. Umar at Warm Daddies with Kindred this Monday, November the 6th. Let me find that. Okay, you want to go to kindredpresents.ticketleap.com. kindredpresents.ticketleap.com. kindredpresents.ticketleap, TICKETLEAP.com. If you didn't get all that, you can just text me 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Also, Nat Turner, for those of you who honor Nat Turner being the greatest revolutionary black prophet, activist, leader that we've ever had in American history. If you know his story, he was hanged on November the 11th. Prophet Nat Turner was hanged on November the 11th of 1831. November the 11th of 1831. On November the 11th of 2017, which is a Saturday, November the 11th, 2017, we will be honoring Nat Turner and all other revolutionary activists and leaders and organizers at the Nat Turner land, on the very site where Nat Turner's war took place and where his untimely execution, crucifixion, took place. That is November the 11th, 2017. You need to call to register. There will be an early bird tour at 11. There will be another tour at 1. There will be a meal at 3. There will be an ancestral ritual and libation at 4. And Dr. Umar Johnson will give the keynote at 5 o'clock. That is Sunday, 11/11/2017. 186 years to the day of the crucifixion of Nat Turner. For those of you who don't know, Nat Turner's family finally has received the skull of Nat Turner from the brother in Gary, Indiana, who returned Nat Turner's skull to his family. So they have the skull. I guess in the next couple years or so, there will be an official grave site for the Honorable Nat Turner, and that will be powerful to have an official grave where we can go and honor the late great prophet. So that's how we moving. Long Beach, California, by popular demand, I will be the keynote speaker for the 39th Annual Black Consciousness Conference, California State University at Long Beach. California State University at Long Beach. That is on the 18th. I speak at 7 p.m. on Saturday the 18th. West Side Stand Up. Okay, I speak at 7 o'clock, Long Beach, California, the 18th of November. But the entire conference begins at 10 a.m. and goes until 10 p.m. 10 till 10, with the Prince keynoting at 7. With that being said, keep me in your prayers, brothers and sisters. Keep me in your prayers. As I've shared with you before, the state of Pennsylvania State Board of Psychology, because of the constant complaints from jealous Africans, they are trying to revoke my Pennsylvania school psychology certification. I repeat, they're trying to revoke my Pennsylvania school psychology certification. Most of the allegations allegedly are coming from differences and concerns that they have with comments I've made on the Tuesday morning Underground Railroad Black Parent Teleconference. So it is this call right here that they claim is the reason why they want to revoke my school psychology certification. Stated in another way, they're beginning to get upset, get pushed back, because I'm helping so many black parents. Because I've helped so many black parents free their children from special education, and because I've helped so many black parents free their children from psychiatric medication, and because I've helped so many black parents keep their children from being expelled and suspended and getting second opinions and getting approved private educations, because I have single-handedly empowered tens of thousands of black parents across this country, and because they probably consider me to be one of the biggest reasons for the drop in psychiatric medication prescription amongst black children, they now want to silence me by taking my certification away from me. And ironically, the most ridiculous thing that I heard was that someone had reported that on the live feed I did from Ohio, from Cleveland, Ohio last Saturday, some of you were on the live feed when I said I was accepting wifey resumes. That actually came up as a complaint, that Dr. Umar Johnson said he was accepting wife resumes. Now, I don't understand how a practical joke has anything to do with my ability to effectively evaluate children for special education disability. To be honest with you, I think that is a joke. I think they know that it has nothing to do with my ability to function as a psychologist, that my public, personal, and political opinions are mine. They are protected by the so-called First Amendment of the United States Constitution. I don't know what my public, political, or personal opinions have anything to do with the State Board of Psychology, but nonetheless, they're coming up with everything they possibly can to silence a man who has done more to empower black parents to save their children than anyone in my generation. So with that being said, we want to go ahead and get into the Black Parent Teleconference. I'm sure they're listening. I'm sure they're listening. Anytime he can quote verbatim statements I've made on live feed after having only made them a week after. Anytime a private investigator, an investigator for the state of Pennsylvania Board of Professional Credentials, can quote verbatim statements that I made on a live feed only 7 or more days after I made those statements, clearly tells me that COINTELPRO, the Black Identity Extremist Task Force, is watching every live feed of mine. They are watching every live feed of mine to try to find anything they can to imprison Dr. Umar Johnson, to arrest Dr. Umar Johnson, to charge me, and at the very least to strip me of my credentials. But with all that being said, credentials stripped or not, I will continue to do the work. Credentials stripped or not, I will continue to do the work. So if I have to give back everything that I've worked for, if I have to give back 20 years of school psychology, then so be it. Nat Turner gave his life. Malcolm X gave his life. Dr. King gave his life. Huey P. Newton gave his life. Medgar Evers gave his life. Emmett Till gave his life. Queen Mother Harriet Tubman gave her life. Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser gave their lives. Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice, Philando Castile, Eric Garner, Alton Sterling, and the list goes off. They gave their lives. So if you want to take my cert, you take my cert, but you cannot silence my voice. Okay? You cannot silence my voice. So Pennsylvania, do whatever you need to do, but understand something. No degree, no credential, nothing like that will ever stop me from fighting for my people. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I hope to see some of you at Warm Daddies on Monday. I hope to see some of you at Nat Turner Land on Saturday. Excuse me. Yes, Warm Daddies on Monday, November 6th. Nat Turner Land on Saturday, November the 11th. Long Beach, California on Saturday, November the 18th. Okay. And then Atlanta, Georgia, Thursday, December 28th for Kwanzaa. Houston, Texas, Saturday, December 30th for Kwanzaa. Detroit, Michigan, January the 1st, 2018, Northwest Activity Center for Kwanzaa. Again, get your tickets, Dr. Umar Atlanta 2017.eventb.com, Dr. Umar Houston 2017.eventb.com, Dr. Umar Detroit 2017.eventb.com. So with that being said, I'm going to go to the phone lines and see if we have a question. Again, I want to keep all questions on our children. All questions on our children. Good morning. Do we have a question to get us started today?
Yes, good morning, Dr. Johnson. How are you?
Good morning, sister. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Okay, I have a 10-year-old fifth grader who's been struggling with education since the start, but he's never been denied going to the next grade. But I know that's what is coming because, you know, his report card has been in promotion and down, and we're only in the first quarter. He's scheduled to take the psychoeducational testing in New York.
What grade is he again, my queen? What grade? What grade?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade. And why is he scheduled to receive a psychological evaluation? Why is that?
He's been having some problems with connecting to the work.
Problems connecting to the work. Be more specific for me. When you say
Right.
problems connecting to the work, what are we talking about?
His comprehension ability isn't there. I see it for myself in terms of when he's reading a passage and when he is asked to answer a question. The disconnect is he will miss all the important information, and then he will try to rely on, I guess, something he learned in the past, or something that he's able to understand from the passage that has nothing to do with the question itself, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, but here's something that, two things I need to run by you. Number one, as is suggested in the federal law, as is suggested in most state departments of education, as is suggested as best practice, has there been any attempt to try to intervene to improve his reading comprehension skill before we decided to get him tested for special education? Keep in mind, reading comprehension is a skill that is poorly taught in school, especially to black children. Reading comprehension is a skill that is poorly taught in school, especially to black children. I'm a personal testament to that. I had to teach myself how to comprehend what I read when I got to college. I was straight A's and B's all through school for the most part, an occasional C here or there, but I had to teach myself how to comprehend what I read. Because it is difficult today for teachers to manage a classroom and teach at the same time, a lot of times most teachers quit once they teach kids how to read and how to read fluency, which is how to read fluently, which is to say to read at the rate of conversational language. So I suspect that your son simply hasn't been taught reading comprehension, that it's something that you probably need to work with him with at home, or hire a tutor, which could be a high school student, a retired teacher, a current teacher who would be willing to work with him after school. But I'm concerned that we're moving too quickly, especially for that, because reading comprehension is poorly taught. And I speak as both a school psychologist and a former school administrator. I would never get my own child. Let's just speak of my own children. I would never get them tested for a learning disability and reading comprehension, because I know how poorly it's taught, until I've first done all I could to try to rectify and remedy the situation.
Yeah, there's so much more in terms of not just his reading comprehension, because his promotion endowed question came up in the first quarter of the fourth grade, and I actually thought it was just a school and the bad behaviors and poor grades from, I don't know, we're talking first, second grade. It's been really difficult for him as a whole. I took him out of the school system, and I made attempts to homeschool him myself. And when I did that, I was able to basically see it's not just reading, it's math, it's science, it's his writing skills, writing abilities, ability to recall information. And as I did it myself, I can now understand why he was being, not having the best behavior in school. Because at that point, he couldn't cope, because he's had the same behaviors with me, and I wasn't making the word challenging, or I actually, though I took him out to the fourth grade, I actually went back to the second and third grade to see exactly if I could be able to build his foundation a bit in all areas of education, and then, and then proceed with the information for fourth grade. So we're talking word problems, as simple as one-step word problems. We were able to do some of that. But in 2 weeks later, the one-step word problems, the information wouldn't be there anymore for him to do it. He would not remember any of it. So I just feel like there might be something so underlying, but at the same time, at a borderline level, where he was able to function enough, and I guess pass enough. Currently, right now, he is back in traditional school. He is failing every single class, with being a few points away from being a D student.
Let me ask you a question, because you said he's almost failing every single class. Now, do we suspect intellectual disability at all? Do we suspect mental retardation at all?
I don't suspect it at all.
Okay. Let me say this. The reason I asked you that, right, hear me out. The reason I asked you that is because whenever a parent tells me that a child is at risk of failing almost every class, and there's no suspicion of an intellectual disability, rarely is a child disabled in every single skill. That tells me that either there's a possibility that this could be a lazy issue. Okay, it's also a possibility that this could be some sort of motivational issue. And there's also a possibility that this could be some sort of an emotional issue. Children don't fail every class. That's beyond a learning disability. Okay, something else is going on. I'm not saying don't get him tested because it sounds like you're committed to that. But if he's struggling in every class, I can almost bet you this isn't just about a learning disability. There's more going on here than what meets the eye if he's at risk of failing everything. But go ahead, sis. I'm listening.
Sure thing. He's under care, for his emotional support for the last year with the psychologist, and he's been trying to tap in to anything to make him, his self-esteem or anything, a lot better. So it just comes to the question that, I feel sort of committed to take the exam only because I really feel like
okay, hold on, sis. Who has the television? Come on, black people. Come on now. We trying to help parents. Who has the television on? Can we mute the television, please? Come on now. We got to stop this. We too grown for this. We trying to help parents. This is a serious call. This is not a hotep radio show. This is none of that. This is serious work here. Don't mess with this, please. Have enough respect for our children not to cause those problems on this call. Go ahead, sister. I'm listening.
No problem. So basically, since I have the test set up, I still want to be able to protect him in a way, because I do listen to you, and I'm still trying to take, your leadership and your advice. Even if it's lazy or not, I've really, really been pushing him.
I got you.
Pushing 4 hours a day, sometimes after school, we're still doing homework, and Sundays.
Okay. Quick question. I have a question, and then I have a comment, and then I'm going to move on to the next parent because we took in a little while. And that question is, where's his biological father?
In and out.
He's in and out.
The last 2 days in, for the last 4 months out.
Okay. How many children are at home?
One.
He's the only child.
Fine.
He's the only child, and the father is inconsistent. I'm almost willing to bet that this has everything to do with him not spending the time he needs with his father. When children don't get their basic needs met, school is not important. When children don't get their basic needs met, school is not important. And having his father in his life as a 5th grader, I can tell you, is a basic need of his. And I'm willing to bet the reason why he's failing everything or near failing is because he wants to spend more time with his father, and that he's preoccupied in school by not getting that quality time with his dad. I think he might be dealing with, some sadness, maybe some symptoms of depression. That's the real issue here. I would recommend that you also get him some counseling. Okay, some counseling. He don't need a label. He don't need medication.
Last year. No, he's been in counseling for the last year.
Okay, he's been in counseling for the last year. All right, if he's been in counseling for the last year and those grades are still struggling, then we might got to look at another counselor. Because if he's been, if he's been with the same, remember, when it comes to counseling, everybody can't do the job right. Counseling is a very individualized, person-centered profession. So if you, even if you yourself, or if I was in counseling and I'm not experiencing any type of symptom reduction after a year, it's time to move on, because either I don't want help or the counselor cannot help me. Either way. Now, in the case of children, they are not self-referred. Adults refer children. So, in the case of a child, it's the counselor's job to try to get in and build that relationship. Since the child was referred for counseling, they didn't refer themselves. But after a year, he's still failing. I think it's time to consider a new counselor. But once you get this evaluation, You know, I really think that you should reconsider it, withdraw your request, get him some tutoring in the area of reading comprehension. But if you're pretty sure there's something more there, and I will defer to you as the mom because I've never met your son. Okay, so your opinion is going to be worth more than mine at this point. You know, I would still reconsider because I know how poorly reading comprehension is taught. Given the fact he's struggling in every area, this has something to do more with his personal life than his academics. But be that as it may, once the evaluation is done, if you want me to take a look at it, I can read it over and give you my honest opinion as to whether or not I agree with the rationale of the evaluating school psychologists with their determination. So that's something that I can do for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
And all of the community.
Appreciate you. And I will be speaking in New York. I forgot to mention I'll be in Queens December 3rd. I will be in Queens, New York, December 3rd. And I'll be putting that information out soon. So yes, December 3rd, Queens, New York is also on the agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again.
No problem. Is there another question on the call?
Good morning, Dr. Umar. I have a question for you.
Where are you calling from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Okay. First, I want to say that my husband and I, he's been researching you, listening to you for quite some time, and we love your work and everything, and just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing, But the question that I have is about the vaccines and for children and stuff like that. We have a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old, and both of them have a significant delay, speech delay, and just some developmental delays and stuff like that. And we've been researching the vaccines and heard a few things that you have said about the vaccines and how it affects the children in the Black community and stuff like that. And I just wanted to get your intake on that, and because it's like it just seems kind of crazy how both the girls have a significant speech delay, and they haven't been diagnosed with autism or anything like that, but just kind of wanted to get your take on it and just trying to understand a little bit more about the vaccines. And is there any vaccines to avoid or just avoid all of them?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, my husband and I, we both believe it has something to do with those vaccines.
It could.
My husband's African as well. He's just like, he's never really seen a lot of this kind of stuff that's been happening over here with kids and stuff like that. And we both, on both our sides of the family, none of us don't have autism or anything like that ever. So just wanted to talk to you about that.
Okay, but you said they don't have autism, they just have a speech impairment, correct?
Yeah, well, the oldest one, the young lady, the lady that we met, came to do an evaluation of her, and she said if she were to diagnose her, she would put her on very low on the spectrum, very low on the autism spectrum. But when we met with someone at my daughter's school, she just started kindergarten this year. And speaking with someone at the school to place her in the class that can accommodate her delays and everything like that, another young lady said that she doesn't even see her on the spectrum at all. She does see some developmental delays, but so we're getting just different intakes on what could possibly be going on with her. But she does have delays, and our younger one, the 3-year-old, she has some speech delays as well. And I just signed the paper at her pediatrician saying I don't want her to get any more vaccines because she's due for more when she turns 4, and I don't want her getting it just from what I've been seeing and researching about it.
Okay. So you're saying the pediatrician is on board for her no longer being vaccinated, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they leave it up to the parents. You know, they say if you want to deny it, they have a form that you sign saying that you no longer want your child to receive any more vaccinations, and that's what I did.
Okay. Well, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the vaccinations at all. So, you know, that's just my opinion. You know, I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm not a fan of it. You know, I've seen the side effects too often. Even the Food and Drug Administration just admitted a couple months ago that there is a relationship between black boys and vaccinations. So it's been established at this point. You know, I'm just not a fan of it. Could have had anything to do with the speech problem, potential autism, certainly, without question, that could have had something to do with it. However, I would caution you against rushing to judgment about her being or him being autistic at this point. Autism has no known cure. So if the child is autistic right now, it does not hurt to allow another year or two before you can be definitive and confident in the diagnosis. I don't see any benefit in rushing to judgment and saying a 3-year-old is autistic. Okay, nothing's going to change in that child's life between 3 and 5. So for me, I would just rather be patient and see what happens over the course of the next year or two. I would not rush to judgment about the diagnosis. I would be patient. Children are different. Every child is unique. Give them time to show who they really are and what they really can do.
Okay, so with both of the girls both having this speech, you know, very strong speech delay in both of the girls, do you think it definitely has something to do with the vaccines? The
Possibly.
fact that both of them have this, you know?
It could be genetic. It could be because of the vaccinations. There's no way to know for sure, but definitely it could have come as a result of the vaccinations. Definitely. It's a possibility.
Right. Okay. So, from this point on, do you recommend to not go with any more vaccinations until, I guess because I got my oldest, the 5 to 6 year old, she's starting speech therapy and occupational therapy now.
Okay.
And I'm looking to get the 3-year-old into the speech therapy as well, since we're already seeing the significant delay in her speech. To just go ahead and get them the therapies and the help that they need to help get them on track with everything with their speech and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with the young child getting speech therapy. The sooner the better when it comes to speech therapy. I mean, that's not medication, it's just therapy. So I don't see how that could hurt. That could only help. I recommend that, if a parent sees something as it relates to speech, go ahead and get them the speech therapy now, because it could potentially eliminate the need for speech when they get to regular grade school.
Right. So with the 6-year-old, she hasn't been diagnosed or anything like that. We kind of wanted to get a second opinion, but right now, since she's just starting school, we're just going to go ahead and, place her in the class that does accommodate her for now, and continue with the speech therapy. She just started speech and occupational therapy, and we haven't gotten it in black and white. We haven't gotten anything diagnosed as of yet. And I didn't want to, like you said, it would be good to do it now. But we didn't want to go and get a second opinion, but we just wanted to get her to therapies and just put her where it could best accommodate her right now. And, and just see how things go within the next year or two, and then see how she progresses,
Right. I agree with that.
Okay. That was all of my questions.
Okay. Thank you, Queen.
Oh, when will you be in Atlanta anytime soon?
Yes, I will be in Atlanta on Thursday, December the 28th, for Kwanzaa at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. Thursday, December the 28th in Atlanta, Georgia. at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. 6 p.m. program. Doors open up at 4. You can get your tickets at the door or online. Online, they're $20. At the door, they're $30. And online, you go to Dr.Umar Atlanta 2017. DRUMAR Atlanta 2017 .eventb.com.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes, this is Texas over in New York. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Just want to say my group's a big fan of yours, and we are actively. I think you still are looking for schools. We're actively looking for schools for you. You are still looking for schools, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. In any case, what I wanted to ask is kind of a ludicrous question, but something I've been thinking of, somewhat in regards to sister you just spoke about the vaccines. If you can combine the vaccines, the current administration's cuts on almost everything, food, stamp, everything that really affects the black community, and we know for the most part that they're dying off and they're gonna take their last shots. Regarding to public schooling, them closing all those schools in Chicago and other cities in the United States. Do you think it'll be more difficult combining that vaccine part that they're trying to make almost to a point where you cannot disagree with them in terms of getting your kids shot? That if someone was denied or say they did not want the shots, that you can get in some type of legal trouble. Do you think it would make it more difficult to open, say, the small independent schools that you've been talking about around the city without vaccines?
Well, if you're an independent school, then you may not necessarily have to require vaccines. I think it's easier. It depends on the independent school's policy, as to whether or not they want to require vaccinations or not. And then it also helps to know the state law about vaccinations, because you have about 18 states that allow for personal family belief exemption. 48 states allow for religious exemption. So depending on the state you live in, you may not have to do anything except get a notarized letter. So, the independent school makes it easier. Opening independent schools makes it easier. But then also knowing the state law is good too, because it may possibly exonerate you from having to get your child vaccinated at all. Okay, is that your phone, my brother, with all that background static?
I don't believe so. Hitting the mute button to see if it is mine, and I don't believe it is.
Okay, who has all the noise in the background? Okay, it's going in and out. But you heard my answer to that, right?
The last part I did not hear.
No, I said if you have an independent school, then it's easier to have a child attend school without being vaccinated, because the independent school will determine whether or not they're requiring the vaccinations or not. And again, knowing your state law helps, because you got 18 states where all you have to do is write a letter stating that you don't believe in exemptions. So you have 18 states that have personal family belief. All you have to do is disagree with it, and that's enough. So I recommend people learn the law on vaccinations in their state first, because it may be a simple way out of it.
Right. And wish them making those, the American government has a history of moving the finish line when it comes to African people. Like, sovereignty argument. If a mass of black people were to do it, they would eliminate that status, the more status that the brothers talk about so much. Do you foresee that if we were to, I don't believe we're in the mass when we make a bunch of independent schools, but this is a game of chess. Do you foresee them jumping in front of us and changing law to whereas
They probably could. Yeah. They you know, they're trying to propose a law now to make vaccinations universal. That's going through Congress right now. So, yeah, I definitely think it's a possibility that they could try to do something like that.
Amazing. Okay, brother. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Dr. Umar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Camden, Missouri. Now, I'm highly interested in seeing you at one of your speeches or one of your meetings. And I was just trying to find out when are you going to come back to Philly?
Well, I'll be in Philadelphia Monday night for an interview at Warm Daddies with Kindred, the Family Soul, the R&B group. They host a series at Warm Daddies on Mondays, and I'll be there this coming Monday, November 6th at 7 o'clock. Doors open up at 6 o'clock.
I'll definitely be there, brother. I'll definitely be there. I've been waiting for like a year or two to see you in person.
Appreciate the love. Appreciate the love. All right. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes, good morning, Dr. Umar. This is Tiffany. I'm calling from Maryland.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, Sister Tiffany.
So, during the summer, my daughter, I have a daughter. She's 14. Well, she's 15. She just turned 15 October 1st. And over the summer, she, spoke to me. We had a moment where she was extremely vulnerable and she broke down and said that she felt like she was dealing with social anxiety. And she began to describe, some feelings she was having, some thought processes she was going through. So I sat down with her. We discussed it. We went over some things that she was researching on her own. And I put her into therapy because it's something that, there were some things that after we talked, kind of started to make sense, things that I remember from, her past or that were relatable to how she was feeling. But, as her mom, I can just give her what I can give her. I felt that she needed to be able to have an outlet with someone else where she felt like she could share, explicitly things that she was dealing with, even if they had to deal with me. But my question is, so she's been going to therapy probably regularly for about a month and 2 months. And she's expecting to see tremendous changes, and I told her that I think that it was great, that she was able to recognize her issues and speak about them. But I'm trying to figure out now what I can do to help her. And, if there are any type of coping mechanisms for the things that she's dealing with, because she tends to overthink and overprocess everything. She's constantly worried about what people are thinking about what she's saying, what she's doing, how she's acting, how they're receiving it. And that kind of keeps her from being able to just be herself, because she's constantly just thinking, what if they don't like what I say? What if, I say something wrong? So I'm just trying to get some, coping mechanisms or, advice on how to help her move past these issues that she's having. Counseling, because I've never met her or know her personally. I don't know what could be triggering these feelings: low self-esteem, past patterns of abuse, abandonment, peer pressure, bullying, whatever the case may be. Because you are in the Maryland area, I would give you the Association of Black Psychologists number so you can get a referral. In fact, what I'll do is I have you text me, and I'm going to text you the name and number of the past president of the Association of Black Psychologists, so you can call him directly. And okay, I need everybody to take me off a speaker. Take me off a speaker and mute your phones. Somebody still has me on speaker. All this feedback.
Take me off of speaker, please. Okay. Text me and just tell me that you need the referral for the black psychologist. You have my cell number? You still there, sister?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I do not have the number.
Okay. 215-989-9858.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes, Dr. Umar.
Where you calling from?
I'm calling from D.C.
Yes, sir.
I have been just struggling for the last several months now. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm actually suffering from racial fatigue. Is that possible?
It's very possible. It's very possible, my brother.
And how do we remedy that? How do we get past that? How do we treat that?
That's a good question, but it's beyond the bounds of this call. This is only about the children today, my brother. So we would have to talk about that another time. This is only about children today. Okay, somebody has me on speaker again. You cannot put the call on speaker. You're causing feedback. Take me off of speaker, please. Yes, but that's a very broad topic. But we'll get a chance to talk about it. I won't be able to go on until the people who... We are horrible. Take me off of the speaker and mute your phones. Keep me off of speaker and mute your phones. Good gosh. If I was white, I wouldn't be having this problem at all if I was white. If I was white, y'all would do exactly what I tell y'all to do. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Dr. Umar, this is I'm calling from the DMV.
Yes.
I spoke with you last week with the NAACP. I just wanted you to know that I have not forgotten to send you the paperwork that you requested. There has just been a lot going on, and I'm going to text you and then let you know a little bit about, kind of expound on what's going on. But I just wanted you to know that the stuff is en route. I'm gonna have that to you hopefully by COB today or first thing in the morning.
No problem.
Also, do you know the next time you will be in the DMV? Because I would like to set up, if you're going to come and speak, for our branch to actually come and support you.
Nah, I don't have a date set up at present to come back to DMV.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Is there another question on the call this morning? Is there another question on the call this morning?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Umar. How are you?
All is well. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from D.C.
Yes.
I have a quick question. It's pertaining to my child, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask you about his schooling involving his IEP.
Go ahead.
So he's actually currently in IEP COTAC, and
Wait, start that over again. You were not clear. Say that again.
I said he currently has an IEP.
Uh-huh.
And he's in COTAC classes.
He's in COTAC. Did you say COTAC classes?
Correct.
Okay.
They don't. I guess they no longer offer extensive classes.
Okay,
Last year, they failed them last year. They suspended them multiple times. I've never got any paperwork. I had plenty of meetings. I've called and made complaints with special education compliance. I wrote emails to the school as well, principal, vice principal. When we went back this year, they have him in the 10th grade. He's actually supposed to be in the 11th. They have him in the 10th grade saying that he can make up credits or whatnot, but they're still not, addressing the previous problem.
And what is the
excuse me?
No, go ahead.
The last year, the last couple of weeks of school, they suspended him saying that he wasn't in compliance with his attendance, and it was for more than 10 days. And from my understanding, if that's the case, they still have to make up his school hours, correct? I know.
I'm lost. Okay, he's a special ed student, correct?
Correct. He has IEP.
Okay. His IEP is for what? What's the disability classification? Is it learning disability? Is it autism? Is it intellectual disability?
No, it says a learning disability. He doesn't.
Okay, it's a learning disability. He's at a public school or a charter school?
Correct, a public.
Okay. And give me this again. Your issue is what? Be specific for me.
So the very first issue that I had was that they were failing him, and I wasn't being contacted. Even if I would call and make contact with his caseworker, it was never really any communication until the IEP meeting. When I would address it in the IEP meetings and say that I feel as if he should go back to intensive classes, they don't offer the intensive classes anymore.
Okay.
So,
okay. Let me say this to you. It's not about what they don't offer. It's about what your son needs. The difference between a special education student and a regular education student is that the regular education student is limited to what the district offers. If I am a regular student and my parent doesn't like the education I'm receiving, there's really nothing they can do about it. If my parent wants a certain type of a class and the school doesn't offer it, if I'm a regular education student, there's nothing my parent can do about it. Regular education students are limited to whatever the school offers. Special education students are not limited by what the school or district offers. The reason they call it an IEP is because it is an individual education program. It is an individual education program, which means it must be individualized to the child, which means anything that your son needs that is necessary in order for him to make measurable progress must be included. So they can never tell you, we don't offer that. That's not acceptable. If your son needs it, they need to offer or they need to pay. They need to pay someone who can provide it to him. There's 3 responsibilities of the IEP team: to determine the program, what your child is going to learn while they're in special ed, to determine the placement where your child is going to receive their special ed, and the third is progress, to make sure your child benefits from special ed. From what I'm hearing you say, it doesn't sound like you're comfortable with the program, what he's learning. You're definitely not comfortable with the placement, because placement includes level of service. You're saying that they said they don't offer the amount of service you want. So whether you want them in a full-time class or part-time class, they're telling you they don't offer that. That is technically illegal, because your son has a right to what's called FAPE, a free and appropriate public education. Special ed children are entitled to a free and appropriate. You're telling me right now that you don't believe your son's education is appropriate. And because you don't believe it is appropriate, then technically it could be argued that it is illegal and not in compliance with the law. So what you need to do is write a letter to the principal requesting an IEP meeting. Remember, a parent can request an IEP meeting whenever you feel like it. You are not limited. You can call an IEP meeting every day if you want. Okay? So you write a letter to the principal, and your letter should always go to the principal because the principal is the only person who's legally responsible for what goes on in that school. No one else is legally responsible for what goes on in that school. The principal is. So your letter should go to the principal. I would like an IEP meeting to discuss my son's program. You have an issue with the program and the placement, what he's learning and where he's learning it and how much of the support he's getting. And when you go to that IEP meeting that you're going to request, don't go by yourself. Take 1 or 2 people with you, and you're going to make it clear that you feel he needs more. And if they say that they're not going to give him more, then you're going to tell them, I'm just going to have to take you to due process. Due process for special ed students is when the parent of a special ed child complains to the state that this school is not properly educating my child. This school is not properly educating my child. And as a result of that, okay, I'm requesting that you guys come in and force the school to give my son the quality of education that he is entitled to. And if the school cannot provide your son with that, they will have to pay. They will have to pay for your son to go to an approved private school where he can get the education he's entitled to. So your next step is a letter to the principal requesting an IEP meeting. At that IEP meeting, you're going to stick to your guns. You have to stick to your guns because their whole job is to get you off your square. So you're going to have to stick to your guns. This is why you shouldn't go by yourself and say, no, he needs more time. And if they say we can't provide it, then you're going to say, then you will have to pay for it to be provided elsewhere. That's exactly what you're going to say. That you're going to have to pay for it to be provided elsewhere because my son has a right to FAPE, a free and appropriate public education. So that's what needs to happen. Do you have a follow-up question?
Okay.
Do you have a follow-up question, or are you clear on that?
I'm very clear. That was very informative. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Greeting and blessings. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Dr. Umar Johnson, my name is Mahogany Grant. I'm calling you from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. Yes.
My question is, my son, it's not a school question, it's more of a state question. There's a state test in Ohio where if you are below a reading level, that they can make you go through the school year again in the same grade. And the thing is that my son is accelerating in every other grade level, like in every other subject except for reading. He recently had a test that he had to take in the summertime, and he failed it by 5 points, and they made him repeat the grade. And I didn't know what to do because as a parent, I feel as if I can't change the law, but it's got to be something that I can do to help him progress. I felt it was unfair that he missed it by 5 points and he had to repeat the whole school year again. And me being a parent, from poverty and everything and not getting everything I needed, I also had reading problems. And I repeated a grade, which I also excelled. And I also excelled, and I graduated school at an early age. So I graduated when I was 16, even though I had reading problems at the age of 7 and 8 and 9. And for them to make him repeat a grade for missing by 5 points, I just felt like it was very unfair, and I don't know how to start with the state or how to voice my opinion with the state or who to address when it comes to this matter.
Okay. Well, what you're going to have to do, if that's the policy, but there's normally a way around it. So what you're going to have to do is contact central office for the school district and get the exact policy on retention as it relates to the standardized testing. and see. Sometimes you can opt out. Sometimes there's an opportunity for a second test for him to take it again, because, for whatever reason, he may have not done well. That's a normal thing. So I think you need to contact the school district and find out what your options are. There's normally a way around it. You can either opt out of the testing as being a measure to determine whether or not he should go to the next grade. Sometimes there's an opportunity for another assessment for him to retake it. I would see what options I have. I would see what options I have. What grade is he in?
He's in the 4th grade. He repeated the 3rd grade twice. He's in the 4th grade this year, but he's supposed to be in the 5th. And he's also in the academy school, and he does exceptionally well in every other subject. He's advanced except for reading.
Well,
and they put him back a grade.
Okay. Well, they're probably not going to put him up at this point. But you know what you could ask? You could ask about him being put up. You could find out, because he didn't already repeat it. So it's not like we can stop him from repeating. He didn't already did it. So the question now becomes, can you get him up to his right grade? So there should be a policy with the district. Some districts have a policy where the child can be tested and put in their right grade. So you need to find out about that, about him being tested to be put in his right grade. That's what it sounds like we need to find out about.
Okay, but I just don't know where to begin. I know you told me I need to speak with who again?
The central office, school district. You want to contact the school district office of, and every district got different names, office of retention and promotion. There might be a middle school office, elementary school office, but you're going to need to call down there, probably go down there and find out what policies are on the books for a child who is not in their right grade, but should be in their right grade because they can do the work at that level. So you may even argue that the work is too easy. He was only kept back because he was, 5 points below. He did 3rd grade twice. He should be in the 5th. He's in the 4th. The work is too easy. And you want to get him up to his right grade. Is there a test that can be done to determine if he is ready for 5th grade work? And the only people who will give you that information is downtown. If they have it, they may not have it. It is a long shot because it all depends on the district. Some districts have it, some districts don't. Hopefully he's straight A's and B's because that's what you're going to need to make your argument. That he's straight A's and B's.
Straight A's and B's.
So yeah, I would contact. Go ahead.
Dr. Umar, as a parent, you get really emotional when things happen to your kid. So it's really hard for me to talk to someone arguing the case where I'm saying my baby does not deserve to be kept behind. And then they're arguing the case, well, if that was the case, he would have passed the test, And I feel like as far as tests go, tests don't fit every individual person, Tests, tests only fit every individual person. With tests that I might not pass, somebody else can pass with flying colors. But what my knowledge might be is something that someone else doesn't know, if you get what I'm saying. And it really bothers me that they have these state tests that's supposed to qualify for all children. And I'm going to be honest, my son is not like any other child. He doesn't learn like any other child. He doesn't articulate like any other child. He's very, very, he's an individual, and I just don't think that these state tests should be allowed to tell all of our kids, oh, if you don't pass at this level, if you're not passing here, that you're not going forward. And I could have sworn that we took this law down of No Child Left Behind or something. I could have sworn we had an act of that nature, and now it seems like it's more and more tests to tell you that, they're not good enough to keep going on. And I don't know where this is coming from or who writes these laws as far as educational, but I would like to change that.
Well, I agree with you. As someone who gives,
in the black community.
As someone who gives tests for a living, I can tell you the testing is a sham. It is a scam. And it is the new Jim Crow. It is the new way to deny black children access to opportunities. Instead of using words, they use numbers now. 50 years ago, if they didn't want black kids at a certain school, they would simply say no blacks allowed. Well, that's no longer politically correct. So now if they don't want black children at a certain school, they simply pick a number and say if the child doesn't score this number, they can't come. It's the same thing. Testing is just a modern way to discriminate against black children. And of course, the tests are designed to produce the results that they produce. They know before our children take the test how they're going to score, because when you create a test, you standardize the test, which means you give out the questions before you complete the final test. So every question on every test has already been given before. Let me say this again. Every question on every test has already been given before. Let me say it one more time. Every question on every test has already been given before. They already know what the black kids are going to score, what the white kids are going to score, and they simply choose the items that are going to produce the result that they want. It's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy that I could use. It's like you want, okay, you got you drive race cars. Let's say you drive race cars and it's 4 of us in this race. We're going to drive the race car. We can determine who's going to win by the engine we put in the car. It's not about the skill of the driver. We know that if we give driver A the best engine, even though driver B is the best driver, driver B the best driver, but we're going to give him the worst engine. We're going to give the best engine to driver A, and that's going to determine that driver A wins. It doesn't matter how much skill he got. It doesn't matter how intelligent the driver is. The engine that we put in his car, irrespective of how intelligent a driver he is going to determine whether or not he wins. That's essentially what they do with testing. They choose the items that black children are not going to do as well on as determined by the pretest. If they wanted to, they could produce tests that would make all the white kids fail, because it's all about culture, exposure, quality of instruction. If I know what you're being taught in school, I know what items to choose and I know what items not to choose. It's not that difficult. You take Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has 501 school districts. Well, I know what every school district is teaching. I know the curriculum. I know the quality of teachers. Okay, so if I want to make a test where the black kids fail in Pennsylvania, I'm going to look at Philadelphia. I'm going to look at Pittsburgh. I'm going to look at Harrisburg, and I'm going to look at the Poconos. I'm going to look at a few school districts where black children predominate, and I'm going to look at the quality of instruction they get. And if I want to make sure they fail, I'm just going to choose questions that I know they're not being exposed to. With the white kids, I'm going to choose questions that I know they are being exposed to. So the test is going to reflect what white kids are being taught. The test is not going to reflect what black children are being taught. It is nothing but the new Jim Crow. Testing is one of the most ridiculous conspiracies ever pushed, but it will never get pushed back against, because whenever they use numbers, whenever racism uses numbers and claim that it's scientific, black people back off. That's how they keep us from questioning what they do, by using numbers, because whenever numbers are used, people assume that it's objective when it's not. So they use numbers instead of words, and then they tell us it's scientific. So obviously, if it's scientific, if we've done research on it, it must be right. And what I always tell people, you don't trust the white man or his research, because his research will draw whatever conclusion he needs it to draw. So you're absolutely right. But you're going to have to work with your son to get that reading up. Whether you got to get him a tutor.
Yeah,
okay. You know, I recommend that you get him a tutor, because that's a skill that he's going to need to do well on. So I would get him a tutor. High school student, retired teacher, current teacher, get him a tutor.
Okay, are there any black schools that you know of in Ohio?
Not that I know of. I'm pretty sure there is in Cleveland, because you're in Cleveland. There has to be at least a homeschool collective in Cleveland. Wait, there is a black charter school that I know of. There is a black charter school that I know of in Cleveland. If you text me, I will text, because I know the founder. I will text her and ask her, how can you reach out to her to see if she have any spots in her school. So I do know the owner, the founder of a black charter school, and I'm going to be their keynote graduation speaker this year. So if you text me, I'll text her.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
That means so much to me. Somebody recently asked me, they said, why would you let the enemy teach you style? And I was just like, how common sense, I wouldn't.
Got you.
I wouldn't.
And you have my cell number?
Thing. I believe it's 215
989-9858. 215-989-9858.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Before I go to the next question, there's one other event that I left out, and that is I will be in South Florida, Sanford, which is where Trayvon Martin was murdered, I believe, Sanford, Florida. I will be there on Black Friday. I will be in Sanford, Florida on Black Friday. I should have the details very soon, and so I'll be putting that out. So that's November the 25th, I believe. Prince of Pan-Africanism will be in Sanford, Florida. So for my, well, that's Orlando. That's not South Florida. I guess that's Central Florida, because Sanford is a suburb of Orlando. So I will be in the Orlando area for Black Friday for my Florida family. Is there another question on the call?
Yes, Dr. Umar, can you hear me?
Yes, where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the Bronx, but I am calling about Trenton, New Jersey. I'm a grandma of 10 grandchildren, 8 of them being boys, all in Trenton, New Jersey. I've taken a second job because I'm putting together a weekend school program just to, that whole it takes a village to raise a child. You already it's like you've been to, our city a couple of times. So, we got to do something. And then I no longer want to just keep saying what, they're responsible for. Sooner or later, we got to get up and take responsibility for our children. So that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting on the vineyard. But my concern is, the reason that I'm doing this is because I owe. I have 3 children. I raised as a single parent. Earlier in their life, I made some really bad decisions, but most of their early teenage years, all the way till they're grown, my son is 33, I have been present in their life. When my son got a speech, I turned him over to certain brothers in the community, and he's okay. He's doing his best to kind of aid me with the support of his sisters, because the same brother need them in terms of the type of brother that they've chosen are kind of headless now, with just my son being the positive man in our family. So again, I got to step in. I owe. The program is open up to any kids, any age, just a support system outside of what you're getting at home. My concern is once I get them and put some things in them and they go back home. So I'm just kind of looking for some guidance and a curriculum that I can use, because remember, I'm a grandma with just the motivation and the love and concern for the youth in Trenton, New Jersey, and I just kind of, need some guidance. Like I got some help. I got the libraries, certain ministers, trying to line some people up. So as we assess children and see what their needs are, we can kind of help them with those services. But at the same time, again, I can have them on the weekend once they go back home. And this is no judgment. Of course, we want parents and stuff involved. But, my thing is helping children think individually outside of what they might be learning at home. So I just kind of need some guidance and some direction as to, what we will be doing in terms of, giving them the proper information and the things that they need outside of, the stuff that they're getting at the public school system and homes.
Okay. And you said a lot there, Queen Mother. But let's do this. You and I probably just need to talk off the call. So what you can do is just shoot me a text message, and when I'm free, I'll give you a ring, probably tomorrow.
Okay.
You have my cell number?
Let me just read it back to make sure I took it down correctly. It's 215-989-9858.
That is correct.
Okay. So a good time, a good day? I know you're busy.
Just shoot me. I can't give you.
I've emailed you several times, and I understand you are doing a lot. So, I understand that you didn't get back to me through the email, but I just want to make sure that I connect with you.
Send me a text message, and I'll give you a ring when I can. I can't give you a specific time because my schedule don't allow for a specific time. But if you text me, I will get back to you.
Okay, respect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Is there another question on the call?
Yes, good morning, Dr. Umar.
Good morning, sister. Where are you calling from?
I reside in Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
Coatesville. All right.
Yes, sir. My
PA.
husband and I love you. We follow you. Many blessings to you in your endeavors. I have a son, born 1 pound 10 ounces. He has an IEP. He's been a child diagnosed with autism on the autism spectrum. So what we need to know is, because my husband and I were talking last night, yes, I am a parent who is present in this on my husband and I, and so I know exactly how that previous sister feels, because we fought the school last year when they tried to remove services. You have to be bold, my sister, and don't let them tell you what your child thinks he needs. You tell them what you know he needs. But to move forward with that, we want to homeschool my son. I am home. I work from home, and I also have a 10-year-old nephew who we caregive for as well. He's a child in the, as you called it, the regular school. So we're looking to homeschool both children, but more so my son, our son, excuse me. And so we want to know what is the best program, because you can only do this once, right? You can't get a reset button for a child who is on the autism spectrum for homeschooling.
Well, that depends, because the spectrum is so diverse. It all depends on where the child is. Now, also keeping in mind that primarily autistic support is about empowering that child to become as, what's the word for it, as autonomous as they possibly can. Teaching them the adequate social skills and daily living skills that allows them to operate without supervision. But that's just one piece of it. You still have to teach all the other skills that all the other children get, which is to say that even though he's autistic, much of your homeschool program will look the same as if he wasn't autistic. The only difference is you're going to add programming for his autism. So, and what grade is he?
He's in 5th grade, and next year he'll be matriculating to 6th, which is the middle school, and we're trying to stop it here. Okay,
he's a little more mature, so, well, number one, just 5 points. One, you want to get the Pennsylvania state standards for 5th or 6th grade, whatever grade you're going to start at. Download that from the State Department of Education website. That shows you the bare minimum you need to cover. I always recommend that parents get the state standards so you know what he is expected to have mastered. You're going to teach him more than that, but at least you'll know the bare minimum that Pennsylvania requires him to know. Okay, so you want to get the state standards, so that's number one. Once you have the state standards, you will go ahead and start creating your curriculum, which is nothing more than what you expect him to know or what you expect to teach him for the entire 5th grade. So, or 6th grade. Okay, so if it's 6th grade, you say, all right, language arts, these are all my goals. Okay, history, these are all my goals. Science, these are all my goals. You want to make sure that's all your curriculum is what you expect him to learn that year. Then from the curriculum, you have to create your academic calendar, or your curriculum calendar, which says, let's say there's 50 things he needs to learn in language arts for the 5th grade. You now have to take those 50 things and break them down into the 9 months of education that you're going to be giving him. So in September, we should have got through 1, 2, and 3. Okay, November, we should have got through. October, we should have got through 1, 2, and 4, 5, and 6. November, 7, 8, 9. December, 10, 11, 12. You must create a curriculum calendar to make sure you are staying on schedule. Because even if you have the greatest curriculum, it means nothing if you don't deliver it to the child in a timely fashion. You see, So if the whole year goes by and you only got to 10% of your curriculum, what good is the curriculum? And this is why when people make a lot of, people make a lot of, you know, a big deal about curriculum, and it is important, but it means nothing unless your teachers can reduce that curriculum into digestible chunks of academic protein in a way that the children can understand it. So it's like you have the blueprint for the perfect house. You say, this is the house that I want. It's on paper and it is perfect. But guess what? That blueprint means nothing unless you can find the right contractor who has the skill to translate your blueprint of your dream house on paper into your dream house in the physical realm. How many times have we seen people who had the perfect house on paper, and when they got a contractor to build their house, it was not the way they wanted it. They did not want the house that way. And that's the same thing in education. The curriculum is the blueprint, but now you have to find the teacher who has the ability to translate that curriculum into an effective lesson plan, who can then teach it in a way where the children can digest it. So you want your state standards for the grade, then you create your curriculum, then you create your curriculum calendar, which basically breaks the curriculum down. And then once you know what you're going to teach in each month, you then break that down into 4 weeks out of that month. And then from that, you create your lesson plans for that week. Okay. Now, also,
we do have
go
a
ahead.
tutor that we have hired. She is a sister who specializes in special needs, and he does see her on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She's full-time at the current school. However, she has offered her services even on the weekend. So we were looking at doing a 4-day school plan for him, but also he has this thing he needs to learn in chunks because he has to be redirected all the time. So we've noticed that with him, that he has a hard time. Like, you can't feed him a bunch of stuff at the same time. You have to give him stuff in pieces. Then you change this. Then you go you do something else, and then you bring him back. And then also we've noticed that over the course of a month, we'll have to keep repeating the same thing for him to actually and eventually get it. So the other question that my husband and I had was regarding the curriculum. I get all that. I wrote all that down. As far as days, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, because whatever we need to do, we're going to do for him. If we got to put out some extra money to hire another tutor, we're going to do that for him. I know that I will not be the best tutor for him, being his mother. So we know we need to hire someone.
Now, okay, who got the background noise? Is that you, Queen? Okay. Well, remember, you got tutors and you got teachers. Tutors, their job is to reinforce what was taught. The teacher's job is to teach it. So,
headphones. Does it have mic? Your headphones.
Okay, somebody talking.
Can you please mute? You have yours?
Who's talking about headphones? Please mute your phone and get off my call.
Yes. You have yours?
Sister.
That mic. I said, hello, my son. I said, can you please?
Hold on. Sister, I need you to mute your phone. You talking on my call. Mute that phone, Queen. Whoever talking about microphones, mute your phone. Jeez. Messed my whole train of thought up. Okay. So you need the teachers to teach. Right. So what you could do is you could hire a teacher to do the whole homeschool program for you, or you could be the homeschool teacher and the teacher, and you could just hire tutors to reinforce what you teach. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with the 4-day learning, the 4-day, school week. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think 4 hours a day is sufficient, but you got to be disciplined. My biggest problem with homeschool parents, a lot of them are not disciplined. If you don't have no discipline, you don't need to be homeschooling nobody, because they're not going to get taught. You got to have the discipline to turn off your phone. You cannot take calls when you're teaching. If the homeschool is 4 hours, those 4 hours, there are no phone calls. There are no emails. Your child is your priority, and that's it. And a lot of parents don't have that type of discipline. You know, parents will,
Correct.
be on the phone for 30 minutes and take an hour break, and before you know it, nothing was accomplished that day. And they say, well, yeah, I homeschooled them for 4 hours today. No, you didn't. You homeschooled them for 45 minutes today because you failed to realize all the times you kept interrupting and taking breaks and running to the store. You really have to be focused, to be a homeschooler. You also want to know how long you plan on homeschooling. Are you just going to do it for a year? Are you going to do it until 12th grade? That means a lot because
we
if you're
want to take him out of the school system altogether.
right, because if the child is going to end up going back into the school system, then you need to make sure the child is definitely where they need to be. So when they get put back in that system, they don't appear to be delayed significantly, because I've seen it happen a lot. If you're going to homeschool him all the way till he graduates, that's fine too, but you will need to start recruiting teachers for when he gets to his high school years, because most parents are not proficient in what is being taught in senior high school. Calculus, physics, advanced geometry, that type of stuff. You have to make sure you're proficient in that. And if you're not, you have to find someone who can, come in and support you or coach you or teach it. So you just got to be visionary, and you got to have that long-term plan. And you also have to provide for social skills programming too. You have to make sure that the child has an opportunity to interact with other children in a way that allows them to develop socially, because half of all learning is socialization, and when you homeschool, you lose a big part of that socialization, which is fine as long as the parents program for that.
Thank you so very much, and you're so true about that. We'll be reaching out to you. My husband told me to tell you he'll be reaching out to you.
Thank you. No problem. Before I go to the next call, I wanted to say that for Pennsylvania, for my people who live in Pennsylvania, one thing I had the idea of doing for a long time, and I've never done it, and I want to do it, hopefully in 2018, hopefully the first quarter of 2018. I want to do a Pennsylvania, since it's my home state, I want to do a Pennsylvania state tour. If you live in Pennsylvania and you want to help Dr. Umar put this tour together, please let me know. Please let me know. I want to do a 10-city tour across the entire Pennsylvania, and I want to try to get to places that I've never been, okay? So obviously we have to do Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, but we need to get up to Erie, PA. I've never been to Erie, PA. We got black parents out in Wilkes-Barre. Of course, we got all the Pennsylvania state school system cities like Bloomsburg and Clarion and Lock Haven. So if you live in the state of Pennsylvania and you want to help me put together a tour, I want you to send me a text message. I repeat, if you live in the state of Pennsylvania and you want to help Dr. Umar put together a Pennsylvania state tour, okay? War Against Black Boys, Pennsylvania state tour. I want to go to all the towns that I've never been throughout Pennsylvania. Okay, well, I won't be able to get to every town, but we want to just do the 10 main areas. If we cut Pennsylvania up into 10, if we cut the state of Pennsylvania up into 10, we will choose one city from each of those 10 regions. Coatesville and Lancaster and Stroudsburg. And if you want to help me do that, please shoot me a text message. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Serious people only. Serious people only. If you're not responsible, please do not waste my time. Is there another question on the call?
Yes. Good morning. I'm a parent from the Bronx, New York. My son has autism.
Yes.
He's currently 4 years old and special needs pre-K. My question, I need help with the IP. The district that we live in the Bronx has been really delaying getting an IEP meeting. And now they did make an appointment October 19th. They canceled that 2 days prior to that date because the school didn't gather all the information for them to form a SBA, because they want him to have a one-on-one para, because they feel like that would help him more based on their limited services at the school. He currently gets 3 times 30 OT in speech for his autism so far, and the school doesn't have any CBA or anything other than OT and speech, and that's the max that most of the district will get if it's 3 times 30, which essentially is an hour and a half per week per therapy. I have not seen much progress he a whole lot. And I mean, researching, most kids with autism need 15 to 20 hours of therapy to really see some type of, like, you know, some real progress. I need help with his IP meeting when it does get scheduled. I want him to have more than a one-on-one para. I feel like he needs ABA. And when I have discussed this with the district, the assigned district administrator, they quickly say there's no schools available that has ABA. He's currently in the 2 class ratio. And most of the ABA in these classrooms are either 6 ratio, and those go quickly, according to what they're telling me. But I know from experience with the districts, they have their schools on retainer. They keep their caseloads. So there are possibly schools out there within a Bronx or whatever neighboring borough that he could go to. It's just they really have it on their retainer, so they'll always have parents that's not available when they're made to be.
Okay. Well, again, remember, a special ed child has rights that a regular child doesn't have. A regular ed child must content themselves with whatever the district offers them. A special ed child doesn't have to content themselves with whatever the district offers. Whatever a special ed child needs, a special ed child gets. Whatever a special ed child needs, a special ed child gets. So what you need to determine is what it is you want. You've already said you want the ABA. So when you go to the IEP meeting, which you can call whenever you want, there's no limit to how many IEP meetings a parent can have. So when you go to the IEP meeting, you're going to make clear what it is you want. And if you are dead set on him being in the ABA, don't sign the IEP unless they put him in the ABA. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. If you stick to your guns, if you feel this is absolutely what my son needs, and you tell them I'm not signing the IEP unless I get it, which means there's going to be a standoff, which means that if they don't give it to you, you can contact New York State Department of Education, fill out due process complaint that they're refusing to provide my son with the services that he needs. And then a hearing officer will come out after you send your complaint into the state, and they will hear your argument why you feel your son need it. They will hear the district argument on why they feel the child don't need it, and they will either rule on your behalf or rule on the district's behalf. So, you know, I think you can get it, but you just have to stick to your guns. You know, a lot of this is about, it's about power. It's about who's going to flex their muscles the most. And most of the time, school districts, you know, they bully black parents because black parents don't know that without your signature, they can't do nothing else. You have to sign that paper. Without that paper being signed, they're not in compliance. So if you stand your ground, you'll normally get what you want.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. No problem.
Is there anybody that I could contact that you could refer me to help attend the IP meeting with me?
Yeah, there's somebody I can send you to. Send me a text message. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858, and I will send you. I will text you someone you can contact.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can a school suspend a student who has a 504 plan? I'm just responding to a question that I see on my Facebook live feed. Yes, they can. A school can suspend a kid in special ed. A school can suspend a kid with a 504 plan. What they cannot do is systematically and consistently discriminate against a child for reasons related to the disability. So if the child has a 504 plan because, you know, they have seizures, if the child beats a kid up, that has nothing to do with him having a seizure. They can be suspended. But if the child has a 504 plan for conduct disorder, which includes, you know, physically hurting other children, and that child hurts another kid, and the school wants to keep suspending that kid, then that could be a violation of the law. Because with a 504 plan, you cannot punish a child consistently. Take me off the speakerphone. Keep me off the speakerphone, please. No speakerphones on my call. No speakerphones. But the school cannot constantly suspend a kid for reasons related to the disability. So like if a kid is in special ed and they have an IEP, okay, the school can suspend them, but you have 10 days. They can only suspend for 10 total days related to the disability. Beyond that, the IEP team has to meet and determine if subsequent days, can be approved or what needs to be done differently to meet the needs of this child. So can they suspend them? Yes. Can they consistently do it? No. Once it is a pattern of discrimination, they can now be sued or taken to due process. Okay, before I take the next call, there's too much background noise. I hear wind. I shouldn't hear no wind because your phone should be muted and I should not be on speaker. I have to say this 1,000,000 times every week. No speakers and put your phone on mute. Thank you. No speakers at all. Even if you mute it, I'm still going to get feedback. No speaker phone at all. And put the phone on mute. Is there another question on the call?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Where are you calling from?
Dr. Umar.
Where are you calling from?
Hello.
The sister. Where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm calling from Virginia.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My question is going to be kind of all over the place, so I'm going to try to sum it up for you as best as I can. My son was diagnosed in first grade with, ADHD. So he's been on an IEP for pretty much his whole school life.
And you should get your fingernails pulled out, right?
You said what now?
I said, you should get your fingernails pulled out for letting them put your kid in special ed in the first grade. That was way too early for that. But go ahead.
Okay. And that's what I've been battling with for years. My family, has been in education. My sister is like the staff developer, technically, my brother, he's assistant principal. So I've had people in my family, educational-wise, giving me feedback, but they're more so promoting medicine. Since I've kind of started doing my own research, I'm like, okay, have this the label? He's now 18 years old, and he's in the 12th grade, and I feel like the IEP has been, I'm not going to say a negative connotation, but to a degree, I feel like it's been a stamp that has followed him as he's gotten older. And we actually just had a manifestation meeting for him to go to another school, but I feel like whenever someone sees his IEP, he's automatically put inside of a box, and he's presented with, this is what he's going to do. Within 2 weeks of him enrolling for the year, this year, he was accused of a crime and literally, without any proof, sent to an alternative school. And this has happened in this, the city of Virginia Beach more than once. And so my question is, at this point, should I get him off of this IEP because he's not on any medication? I haven't had him on medication he hasn't been for the past 2 years. And so my question is, should I put him on medication or keep him off or get rid of this IEP? Is this IEP something that's like kind of standing in his way from, being, I feel like a normal student, because I feel like it's kind of tainting him to a certain level. Because I know he has issues with focusing. I know he has to be redirected to a certain degree. But at the same time, he's still able to stay on task. He gets along well with others. His grades are normal. So I'm trying to figure out, like, at this point, being he's a 12th grader, should I continue to allow him to have it or completely get rid of it?
And his disability diagnosis, again, you said ADHD?
Yes, and they had the IEP for other health impaired, like OHI.
Yeah, other health impaired. That's ADHD. So,
correct.
Since first grade, he's now in 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, and why did you wait 12 years to call me about this?
Because I just woke up.
Okay. No problem.
A couple years ago.
No problem. And this is his last year. Okay. And this is his last year, right? He's a 12th grader.
Yes, he's a 12th grader now.
One of the biggest decisions that you're going to have to make is whether or not you feel that your son is ready to exit the public school system and go off into his life? Is he ready for life after high school? Because if you don't believe he's academically ready to be let go into the world, then you need to notify the school district director of special ed, your child's principal, that he will not be receiving a diploma this June. You need to let them know that you're not done educating my son because you've miseducated him. Okay, if that's your decision, because special ed goes up to age 21. Special ed can go all the way up to age 21 if you so deem necessary. But because he was in special ed for ADHD, he should not have been in special ed that often. In other words, ADHD, you know, that's a minor thing. It's not really learning at all, which is why I don't like putting kids in special ed for ADHD. He should have only been getting pulled out for that. He should have still been in the regular classroom for most.
Yeah, he's in regular study classroom. He just like his study blocks are more so co-skill, co-taught, where he has, you know, a teacher that comes in and helps out, facilitates, helps him with organization and his study tactics and stuff like that. But other than that, he's in regular study classroom.
Okay, so because he's in a regular setting and this is his last year, okay, what do you want to change? Because he's not full-time, he's not part-time, he's only being pulled out. So what is your concern?
My concern is the IEP itself. I'm not sure if the IEP is what I feel like is being used against him to a certain degree, because it's like his behavior issues is always like we're having these manifestation meetings and things of that nature. But I feel like that's the reason why he's always labeled, is because of this IEP. I'm like, okay, maybe because they see he, you know, has issues with focusing. Is that why whenever any incident occurs, you know, without even having valuable proof, they immediately target my son? You know, it's like IEPs are used in where I live as like a slip, like, okay, you know, he's a bad kid. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, should I have it taken away where he's just, you know, at this point not having it at all? That way he can go to school and does not have to worry about being suspended. And, you know, because his last manifestation meeting that we attended, when the superintendent reviewed over his record, and they had the record from elementary school, like talking on the school bus, you know, having to sit back in the class because, you know, stuff that happened when he was like 7 years old. And I was looking at the record, I'm like, gosh, they've been following my son, you know, for all these years, and it's attached to his IEP, you know, and I'm like, I don't want that to be a holdback or the reason why he's always being suspended because of this IEP.
Well, he ain't being suspended for the IEP. The IEP limits. You can only be suspended 10 days if you're in special ed before the IEP team has to meet and approve subsequent days. So he's not being suspended for having an IEP. The IEP actually limits. It actually limits how often that he's being suspended. It's just that it's his last year. If you don't think he needs the IEP, get rid of it. Okay. You know, I wish we would have got rid of it years ago, because now we're at the we're in the last days of his education. But if you don't think he needs it, I would go ahead and get rid of it. I would definitely get rid of it.
Yeah.
Make sure he's going to get a regular diploma too. Make sure he's going to get a regular diploma, because make sure he's going to get a regular diploma. At your next IEP meeting, you need to talk about his diploma.
The IEP stands a standard. Is that the same as the regular? Because it says a standard diploma on his IEP. Is that correct?
It should be, but make sure. Talk to somebody. Okay. Make sure.
Okay.
I think he will get a regular diploma because he was only a pullout kid. The kids who are at risk of not getting a regular diploma are the kids who are full-time special ed kids. You know, they're the ones who are at risk. But it's no problem.
Appreciate it.
Virginia. I will be in Virginia on November the 11th. There's going to be a special ancestral celebration for Nat Turner and our other ancestors. Nat Turner was hanged on Saturday. Excuse me. He was hanged on Friday, November the 11th. And So on Saturday, November the 11th, in Druryville, Virginia, which is right next to Emporia, Virginia, we're going to have a program there. It's going to be about 1 to 6 on Saturday. If you want that information, anybody in Virginia, you can text me for that. 215-989-9858, and I will send you the flyer. Okay. Is there another question on the call?
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Good morning.
Yes. Let me take the sister. Where you calling from, Queen?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Go right ahead.
Yes. This question might be premature, but I have a 1-year-old, and I hear a lot of the discussions that you have about the importance of what parents do as it pertains to their education beyond just the schooling. Like parents have to be involved just as much as the school. So I'm trying to figure out whether I want to send her to a private school or a public school. I do want her to get exposure as far as being exposed to different cultures and things like that. I don't want to limit her so she can, I guess, prosper in the world of, different people. But I'm trying to figure out, should I send her private? Should I send her public? Does it really matter? Is it more so the school, or is it more so what the parent instills when it comes to the education of the child? Because I want to start the right way. I don't want to get to 4th or 5th grade and have all these issues. I want to make sure I start off the right way.
Well, it's a combination. Nothing happens without the parent. Nothing happens without the parent, but you have to stand your ground. The problem with so many of our parents is we make decisions without having all the information. That's a very big problem. We make decisions without having all the information. We let white folks tell us what to do all the time. And we fail to recognize that the system cannot operate without our consent. So as long as you keep in mind that you're in control and that you stand your ground and don't get bullied, then you'll be fine.
Okay.
But I don't want you to anticipate too much because you don't have those problems yet. But, just know that when that stuff comes up, you don't sign nothing on the spot. Never sign nothing on the spot. Read everything. And then if you have any questions, God willing, I'll still be around and you can ask me. So.
Right. And the other, because I heard you telling another caller that you can actually get the standard of what that student is supposed to learn for each year. I didn't know that, and I heard that information. Let's just say, because I was schooled in PG County in Maryland, but you know that Montgomery County in Maryland I know their schools were a lot better than PG County. So let's just say my student goes to PG County. Can I use the standard for, let's say, Montgomery County if I think that they have a better standard of learning to kind of keep my child ahead of the game? Would that be a good thing to do or not necessarily?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. You can use whatever standard that you're most comfortable with as it relates to how you keep your child up to where they need to be. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Hello?
Yes, good morning, Doctor.
Let me take the brother and the sister. Good sister, where you calling from?
Seattle, Washington.
Okay, hold that thought. I'm going to come to you, Seattle. You're next. Go ahead, good brother. Where you calling from?
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Umar Johnson. My name is Scotty Francis. I'm calling out of Dallas, Texas. How are you this morning?
All is well.
This might be off the script a little, but I'm not quite sure what else to do. And I've been following you for a long time, and you've motivated me a lot. But let me start if I may. I believe that I have a son who's 11 years old now. I was never there for him a day in my life. Nothing every day of my life to
that, I just recently was divorced. 16 years. With 16 years with this woman, high school sweetheart, but we've only been married for 2. Just recently went divorced with that. These people. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. These people somehow got back to my job about the kids. No family here. Family already cares for me. Family disowned me. By myself in Dallas. Somehow it got back to my job. Job is sabotaging me. I'm talking about breaking into my apartment, contaminating my food. I walked into the office one day. I seen my 2 supervisors allowing another coworker dig to my personal stuff. They sent women at me. Private stalkers get sent at me. It's pretty bad. I'm to the point to where I'm just ready to go to work. Everybody has.
You're going in and out, bro. Your voice going in and out.
I can hear another voice in the background. I'm not quite sure if that's someone else's background, but I can vaguely hear you also as well.
Okay, I need everybody to mute your phone. Go ahead, good brother.
Yes, like I said, sir, you inspired me to read Frederick Douglass' autobiography. I have a saying that's mulatto elevated, negative penetrated. Mulatto elevated is to get past white people in corporate as Frederick Douglass in my mind, and negative penetrated is for that turning in my heart. I'm writing this book from all the stuff that I've been through in corporate in my job, entitled Failed Nigga Working in the Big House. Because if I tell people all what these people have done to me, people would not believe me. They would think I'm insane. Like I said, my mom disowned me. She didn't like me. I was told that I could jump from the train tracks and kill myself in high school. She had insurance on me. My father died when I was 6 years old. Family disowned me. The reason why I never told anyone about what's going on in my job, because if I go to HR, I feel like they're just going to fire me, and I don't have any help out here in Dallas. Man, I don't know what else to do or where else to reach out to.
Okay. It sounds like you got to speak with an attorney. I think you should contact the National Bar Association, the Black Lawyers Organization. They have a referral system. I would contact them and see who they could send, who they could refer you to, so you can have a conversation about, you know, how you should proceed. I can't really give you the direction since I'm not an attorney, but you definitely need an attorney here because a lot of this sounds legal. So I think an attorney would be in store.
And this National Bar Association?
Yes, National Bar Association. Look them up online, and they should definitely be able to help you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
No problem, bro. Hold your head up. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
All right. Is there another question on the call? Oh, the sister from Seattle. You there, Seattle?
Yes. Hello. Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
My question is, I do homeschool my 9-year-old through K-12, but I want to know about opting out of the testing. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, so I want to know about opting out of testing, and also I wanted to know about have they found connections with women getting the epidural shot for the connection of getting the epidural, immunizing your children, all of those things being connected with ADHD.
I don't know about the
children having ADHD.
Okay, take me back. What was your first question again, sis? I forgot your first question.
My first question was opting out of testing.
Okay, opting out of the testing. Okay. As far as epidural and ADHD, I don't know the answer to that. If there's a relationship there, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I don't believe in ADHD, and I don't really think sisters should be taking the epidural. But as far as opting out of testing, you want to contact your school board, local school district, and find out what the procedure is to opt out of testing. Most states do allow children to opt out of the testing. However, when you opt out of the testing, there's normally another set of assessment. There's another assessment protocol that the child will be subject to if you opt out of the testing. So I think in Pennsylvania, what they have here is if you opt out of the standardized testing, then the child has to they have to complete a long-term research project. And so you want to find out what the alternative is, because there is an alternative. And if it is like a long-term research project, the question then becomes, do you and your son have the discipline and dedication to make sure that gets done? So you definitely want to consider the alternative. So find out, maybe your state don't have no alternative. You just opt out and that's all there is to it. So you definitely want to find out, get the ins and outs of that. But it starts with the school district, and contact the state, because the state makes the law. So I would contact the state first, because sometimes school districts will lie because they want the kid to take the test. So contact the state and find out, how do I opt out of my son getting tested? And you would contact the office at the state level that deals with assessments, testing and assessments, and find out how you opt out. And then find out, what are the consequences of opting out.
Okay. Are you coming to Seattle, Washington anytime soon?
I was in Seattle this past summer. I was in Seattle. I'll be coming back though. Probably for Black History Month in February.
Oh, okay. That'll be good. All right. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Umar.
you.
I appreciate you.
No problem.
You have a good day.
You too now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Is there another question on the call?
Good morning, Dr. Umar.
Good morning. Where are you calling from?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida. I may be in Jacksonville, Florida for Kwanzaa. I'm considering it the day before Atlanta, which will be Wednesday, the 27th. I may be in Jacksonville, Florida. I will make a decision this week, though, for sure.
I would much appreciate your presence, and I know you're going to be in Miami, so I'm going to do my best to make it down there for that meeting. So I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
And my first one is, I have a 14-year-old son, excuse me, who'll be 15 in a couple of days, and he has a 504 plan. And I was looking online to understand what accommodations that plan entails. Can you give me some direction in that?
The 504 plan will entail whatever accommodations you and the team feels are necessary. So that's unique to the kid. Common accommodations include a one-to-one aide, regular breaks from classroom instruction, school counseling, taking your tests in a different room from your classmates, extra time to take the test is probably the biggest one, a behavior plan, an elevator key. It can be whatever accommodation you feel is necessary in the school setting. So that's something that you need to think about. What accommodations does my son need to be successful in school?
Okay. So now I was thinking more about limitations, because as I was reading, there was something called an IDEA plan. Have you ever heard of that?
No, IDEA is the current federal special ed law. It's Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act. That is the federal special ed law. And within that law, you get an IEP plan. IDEIA is the law. IEP is the plan that is created for each child who qualifies for special ed based on having a disability.
Okay, wow, thank you. Okay, and so then also his teacher, he has English. He's ninth grade. He has English, and he has intensive reading. Both methods he's doing very poorly in. D is not an F. And this is part and partial, if not all, my fault. I will admit that. I'm not going to hold any punches. I homeschooled him for a couple of years because the system here in Duval, Florida, period, is poor. Nevertheless, I realized, and I'm trying to correct it. So teacher would like to lessen the work, do you think that's a good idea, considering, I mean, he's a very strong student. He's very, he's interested. He's wanting to learn. He is engaged. He reads. He goes to school on time. No behavior problems. I mean, when I say I have almost the perfect child, he's awesome. However, the reading is impeding on all the subjects. Even though he's still at a B in math, history and science, he's at a C, teeter-tottering on a B. So should that teacher lessen that work for him?
Okay. Lessening the work. I'm not sure exactly what the teacher means by that. You know, for me, you know, that could be an accommodation, but at what cost? So, like, I want to make sure my child isn't missing out on relevant instruction, because if he has a 504 plan, he's still going to have to pass the state assessments, you know, and if you live in a state that has a graduation test, he will not be exempt from that. The 504 plan doesn't exempt you from any test. It may give you more time to take that test, but it doesn't exempt you from any test. So I would want to make sure that in lessening the work, my child isn't being miseducated. That would be my biggest concern.
Absolutely, and that was my hit the nail on the head. Okay, very good. And I have a meeting coming up to reevaluate the 504 plan with the school, and of course I wanted to speak with you first. So having cleared that up, I just would really, and going back to that first question, no limitations for me, because I was reading the idea law, as you said. So I just want to make sure that I'm not limiting my request.
What do you mean limiting your requests?
So, for instance, I know I should give him a tutor. Is that something they should provide, or should I provide that?
Tutoring could be listed as an accommodation on a 504. It could. But if it's me, knowing what I know, you get what you pay for. If my child needs tutoring, I'm going to pay for one out of my own pocket. So the tutor is accountable to me. When you get it through the school, they're accountable to the school. You know, again, anything that I can afford to pay for, I'm going to pay for it myself, because the person is accountable to me.
Okay, very good. That makes sense. All right, and my last thing was, as a parent, I hear a lot. I've watched many of your videos, and I admire you. You know, just being the person that you are and going what you do in your work. And I just ask the Most High to always favor you in your work. That being said, us as single parents who are beginning to awaken to our illness and our disease, how do we come together, you know, especially as Black women, because we are so separated and so, like, we don't even speak to each other in the store. You know what I'm saying? And how do we all come together and start to make this gap? Because that is a part of our children's miseducation, is through us, because there is such a this ease that we have amongst each other, the community, and especially as Black women, it is permeating to our children. And how do we mend this? What do we do as Black women, sort of having a support group? You know, what do we do?
Well, we need unity, but unity is difficult, because Black people aren't interested in being Black people. We have a transracial consciousness where our biggest strategy for dealing with racism, and this has been for our 400 years under British North American oppression, our biggest strategy has been to try to get white people not to see us as Black. It's a ridiculous strategy. It is a suicidal strategy, but that's what we do. We believe we can deal with racism by trying to convince white people that although our skin is Black, we're not Black. We also try to eliminate our problems by not thinking about them. We are very dysfunctional because we hate who we are. We don't like how we're treated, but our problem is not with racism. Our problem is with the treatment that racism gives us. Black people don't have a problem with white people being in charge, Most black people want white people in charge. Most black people would not function effectively unless it's white people telling them what to do. So it's going to be difficult to get out of this, because although we are in a fight for our lives, we don't care about nobody else but ourselves. We're totally individualistic. Black people have no nationalist mindset whatsoever. We don't have a nation mindset. Everyone in America has a nation mindset. Arabs have a nation mindset. European Jews have a nation mindset. East Indians have a nation mindset. Anglo-Saxons have a nation mindset. Chinese have a nation mindset. Slavery obliterated the black man and woman's nation mindset. We don't have a nation mindset. Very few black people wake up saying, what can I do to improve my people today? Very few of us, and most of us were raised with a very selfish Islam and a very selfish Christianity that said the only people you should care about is people who pray like you. So, you know, when I was raised Muslim, we never had a conversation in a mosque about what we can do for the black community. Never. In fact, anybody who brings up black consciousness in the Philadelphia Masjid will be repudiated. They don't want to hear nothing about no black pride, nothing about no black culture. But at the same time, they will imitate the hell out of Arabs. They want to talk like Arabs, walk like Arabs, dress like Arabs, eat like Arabs. They don't want their own culture, but they will love someone else's. So again, as long as we are not interested in being who we are, you're not going to solve this problem. And, you know, every black person thinks they're the exception to the rule. And that's another problem we have. So many black people think white people are going to see me as different. We have this sick mindset that says I'm the exception. There are no exceptions. White supremacy accounts for everybody. You know, so we need the unity, but there's so much self-hatred. I mean, there's nothing but self-hatred. I was in Chicago last week at the Culture Connection. Beautiful question and answer session we had there. But there was a coon, a hating ass dude from the conscious community who came into the Q&A, and he Facebook Lived it. I didn't know this. And he told people on the Facebook Live that he spoke to me and I didn't speak back, which wasn't true. I never even noticed him speaking to me. In fact, he didn't speak to me. He lied. He did not speak to me. But someone said he claimed he gave me a salute or something like that. Now, why he would think I was thinking about him when I'm trying to engage my Chicago family is beyond me. And then he also posted another comment about how I called Brother Kaz, one of the elders there, how I called him an elder, which I did because he's my elder. And that was a title of respect that I gave him. You know, he didn't take it offensively. Neither did I, because it was a title of respect. But just to show you how much hate we're filled with, here's a perfectly positive event, and some coon from the conscious community who considers himself a conscious leader or whatever comes into my event and starts some negativity like that. Now, I don't like the guy. You know, he's always saying little disrespectful things. I'm not going to call his name because he's, you know, he's a nobody to me, you know, but I will tell him this. I didn't like what you did. And I'm going to ask you, don't ever do that again. Because the next time you post something disrespectful about me, I might smack the shit out you because I don't like you. So don't do it again. He knows who I'm talking to. But we're just so filled with evil and negativity. That's all we have for each other, you know, and we don't want to admit it either. We'll be the first ones to say we need to stop hating each other. And right after we say that, we'll go outside and hate on another black person. You know, we all feel that we're the exception to the rule, and none of us are the exceptions to the rule, you know, and that's why for me, the children are the solution. The children are the solution, because I believe only if we effectively educate the children can we begin to bring it into this, because the mentality of today's African American is toxic. We are a toxic people. We are absolutely toxic. You can't find another people whose children are catching the hell that our children are catching, who would ignore it and consider to spend and continue to spend their money on cars, clothes, hair, vacations, nightclubs, music. If you did not know what Black America was going through, if you did not know what Black America was going through, you would not know looking at black people. We don't show no evidence that we're at war. We show no evidence that we are at war. Go outside and look what Negroes are doing. Smoking weed, partying, shopping. You would not know that our children are catching the hell that they catch. You would not know that we don't own hardly anything. You would not know that there's a police genocide problem, because black people are totally interested in ignoring their problems as a way to make them go away. It is absolutely sick, you know, and I really just believe that this war couldn't have came at a worse time. This war couldn't have come at the worst time, because you're dealing with the worst, mentally worse African American. But I want to get off the soapbox, because I know we got some other callers on there. But
brother, I do. And whoever that is, mute your phone. Like, really?
I know they never mute the phones. No problem, sister.
Love, Simone. I say all the good things that the Most High brings you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another question on the call?
Hello?
Yes, I have a question, Dr. Umar.
Where you calling from, sister?
I'm calling actually from Columbus, Ohio.
Yes.
I heard a lot of the questions that that you actually have, but I have to piggyback some of it. After listening to you speak that Saturday when you was here, the next day was actually the day that they was giving out the air test to my son. Well, I was already considering not having him take the air test because I believe that the Columbus public school system was not teaching my son correctly. After hearing you speak and talking to private school teachers, their other teachers, it just proved my example. Like, I didn't know they was teaching my son whole words. Now it makes sense to me why he wasn't getting the curriculum that we was teaching him at home, because it wasn't the curriculum he was being taught at school. So I refused to get him tested to take the air test. I submitted it in writing, like you said, and we have a conference with me, his father, my best friend, which is a doctor, and my brother, because he actually went through the IEP program. So just in case they try to switch words or something, he can explain it a little more. But I don't know what should I do with this conference? Like, how far should I push it? What type of questions I should ask? If it's too much for the conference call, I am willing to set up a private consultation with you.
So wait a minute,
this is something that I'm really serious about, and I'm going to push it at any cost.
So you have you have a conference coming up about your child? I missed that part.
Yes, I requested one, like you said, and they kept trying to. She kept trying to do it as a call conference, but I told her I needed it in person.
What is it about?
It's this Thursday. Just why I refused for him to take the air test.
Okay.
Which is the third grade test. To give you a little bit more background about that, my son's in a better school this year, but the previous year they didn't believe in homework. So I was literally tutoring my son as a working parent, and his dad works too. So we was literally tutoring him when we have the time, just to keep him where he needed to be at, because they didn't believe in. They told me it was a study done that showed that kids didn't need homework. They was being overwhelmed. I told them, who did you do that test on? Poor black kids? Because that don't even make no sense. I'm in college. I do homework. So I'm dealing with all of this now, and being just learning and hearing you of how this school system is. I want them to pay for my son to get better education. I feel like I shouldn't have to spend all my money to put him into a private school or home system when they the one failed to teach my child.
Okay, number one, if you're going to exempt him from the test, you need to contact the state to find out what that process is. I don't think you don't need to discuss rights. If you have a right to something, it don't need to be discussed. So you have a right. You have a right to not have him participate in the test, but you need to find out what the process is to invoke that right, and then what is the alternative assessment that you will be subject to. So you need to contact the state. You can still have a conversation with them if you want to, but be careful about defending your rights, because you have a right to that. So you don't need to explain it to nobody. But I would contact the state first. Get all the information you can first so you can be properly informed when you meet with them. But it's like if your child isn't going to pledge the flag. You don't need to explain that to nobody, because it is a right. So, find out what your right is in terms of exemption from the state first, so you'll be prepared for the meeting.
Okay, yes. She sent me a document. It is 36 pages long. I haven't went completely 100% present through with me, and my mister has only been through, I'm going to say, about 6 pages so far. It's pretty much giving you the runaround. But I requested that from the school board. I guess they're making me have this meeting because she said that, you know, by him, they try to scare you and tell you, oh, if your child don't take this test, they're not going to go to the 4th grade. Oh, if they don't
That's
do
why
this,
you got to
then
talk
we
to the
legally don't
state.
have to do that.
I think you're making a mistake by talking to the school first. I don't think you need to do that. You need to contact the state. That's a state right. It's not. It's the principal has no control over it. The teacher has no control over it. That's a state right. You need to contact the state and find out all there is to know about exemptions before you have a conversation with the school. You don't even need to have a conversation with the school, really, but nothing wrong with that. But get the information from the state. Don't rely on schools. Do not rely on schools for your information. If it's a state right, get it from the state.
Okay.
You follow me on that?
Yeah, yes. Well, today that's what I'll be doing, contacting the state. I'm at work right now in the bathroom trying to talk it to you. Like I couldn't wait. I've been running back and forth. One more thing, I want to say thank you for what you did in the community. My little brother,
thank you.
Changed his life. He been to your parents' conference, your parent-teacher conference. He's the one who actually introduced us to you Saturday. I don't know if you know me. I was the one with my daughter kept crying. We kept trying to get her.
Okay. I think so. Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
That's me. Yeah, with the long braids. That you just changed his life. He used to be so black hatred. He used to always have something to say about dark-skinned women, everything. You have changed his life, and I thank you for that because I love the king that he has became. And my mother does too. And you changed my family's life. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving or Christmas anymore. We actually celebrate Turner's holiday. We have our dinner feast every 11th.
Oh, so, powerful.
I just want
That's
to
beautiful.
thank you again for what you are doing for our people because we don't have that in Columbus, literally. In Columbus, Ohio, you was here. We don't even have that many black-owned businesses. This is a Trump pride state, and they rally by that. So anything that comes here to try to wake up our community, I'm all for it.
Got you. Well, keep me posted, Queen. Keep me posted. Glad to hear that.
I sure will.
All right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Where you calling from?
Long Beach, California.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. I'll be in Long Beach on the 18th of November. California State University Black Consciousness Conference.
Yeah, I just seen that. I'm coming to see you because I need you in my life. Just want to say, I have a 13-year-old. Me and his mother's not together. He was living with her like the beginning of his childhood life. He came to me when he was in the 4th grade. I took a year out to work with him because I see she didn't work with him. He got his IEP with her, and now he's with me. I'm not letting him go back. And I have an IEP meeting tomorrow. This morning, today. Don't really know where to start. Like I said, I'm in Long Beach, California. He's a good kid. Everything you're saying, it speaks to my soul. And like I said, I need referrals on basically either a counselor. You know, should I? He's in a good school, but he's like you said, he's a good kid. He's failing every class, but I don't even know where to go with it. I just took the first step to get him back with me.
Okay, why does he have an IEP? What is his disability? Why does he have an IEP?
Well, his problem that I noticed with him, his focus, he gets off track real easy. That's one of his IEP. When he was with his mother, one of his IEP, because she lives farther than me. He was going to school like 2 hours away. And when he lived with her, part of his IEP was that he was, he would get into fights and stuff like that out there. Since he's been back with me, he don't have that type of problem. So that was part of his IEP. He was, he got suspended for fighting, getting into it with people.
Now, but IEP is learning, though. IEP is, what is his disability? You need to know it. What is his specific? He has an IEP for a specific disability. It could be reading, it could be math, autism, intellectual disability, emotional disturbance. You need to know why he has an IEP. That's very important for you to know.
Okay. All right. I'll find out today.
Yeah, you need to find that out. Why does he have it? And then once you find out why he has the IEP, you need to find out whether you feel he still needs the IEP. You know, he's a 5th grader, you said?
No, he's grade 13.
Okay, you said 8th grade, 7th?
Yes, 8th grade.
Okay, 8th grade. I don't know if I want my son going into high school with an IEP if he don't need it. How old was he when he got the IEP? What grade was he in?
I'd say it was like the 2nd grade.
Too young in the first place. He might not even need that. If he don't need it, take the crutches away. Why give crutches to a kid whose ankle ain't broke? It don't make sense.
Okay.
And if he's lazy, you just got to break him out of that. Most of our kids on IEPs, they're just lazy kids. And the parents are lazy too, so they put them on IEPs. Everybody's lazy. So I would find that out, have a deep talk with him and find out where his head is at too. But, you know, most of the time it's the IEP thing. A lot of the time it's laziness. That's all it is. Pure laziness.
Exactly. Do you, okay, like you say, he's in 8th grade, he'd be in the next year. I'm doing everything I can to find, like, I want to refer him, like you said, because he went to counseling, and it was to a white counselor. I went with him a couple of times. I didn't really get nothing from the meetings when I was going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They was trying to talk to him. Like you said, to me, the problem is, like you said, in the home, because him and his mother, he can't even go to his mother's house for the weekend. And,
right.
You know, that was, so it's like, so now I told him he's just going to stay here until I get him to a point that he can be around other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, you don't have problems. To me, you don't have problems on my side. Like, he's very respectful and everything. But
how often is he with you, and how often is he with his mom?
Well, just recently he moved back with me like about 2 months ago, and he would go back to her on the weekends. And every weekend they would get into it with her and her husband. He would fight with her. He would get into it with the stepdad, and then she would call me, and I would have to come pick him up. So just recently, I just told her we're going to take a break from that, because even when he comes back that Monday, he is very hyped up. I got to get him back to, calm. And it's just that back and forth thing. And it's just like he goes from 0 to 100.
Got you. Well.
And I took off work.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I took off work to just, deal with him, take him to school, talk to him, get him right. And he's failing in his classes, but his problem is organization. Like, he don't organize. So, like you said, a lot of laziness. So, his organization is terrible, and little stuff just like throws him off. Like, if there's TV on, he get distracted. So he got to have a quiet room, and then, but he need like you said, somebody's going to teach him. He needs a tutor. So like I said, I need referrals for somebody that can work with him. So if you have any referrals that can work with him, because I'm dedicated on getting him the right help. Like, what I'm saying? Somebody's going to work with, with a black kid that understands where he's at, because he's very smart. He gets it. Like, he does everything. Like, I took him out of sports. He rides motorcycles. He does everything. I do everything. But like you said, he's lazy. But in the discipline, like, when I discipline, he listens to only me. So he understands that. So I just need somebody to work with him.
I got you. Really, you just need to work with him. I mean, the bottom line is you just have to reteach him some habits. Because you're the dad. It's your job to break him out of that. Mom made him lazy. Or allowed him to become lazy. It's your job to break him out of it. It's really just that simple. You got to prepare him for life. And there is no easy passes for any black man in this society. So You're just gonna have to go in on him and show him how he's supposed to be as a man. That's really what's going on here.
Okay. Okay, I got you. And I'll be, like I said, I'll be there on the 18th, and I'm gonna bring him with me so
Sure.
I can come up with a plan, like I said. And my thing is, I don't know. Like I said, to me, the school he's at, it's a decent school, but like you said, he's lazy. So I got to get him out of that. But I do need a tutor to help him with his subjects that he's struggling in.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with a tutor. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just need a referral that's going to, like somebody that's going to understand the situation, that's going to work with him. Like, I just need a tutor, and I got that. So like I said, I'll see you on the 18th, and maybe I can get those referrals, or you can.
Yeah, that's cool. In fact, there'll be a sister there. There'll be a sister there who works with our Los Angeles National Independent Black Parent Association chapter. She'll be there, and y'all can exchange info, and she can probably help you find a tutor.
Okay. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, thanks.
All right, bro. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes, good morning, Dr. Rock. Go ahead. I'll defer.
Go ahead, my brother. Where you calling from?
Okay, I have the question that I had was.
Oh, that's the sister. Where you calling from? Where you? Pittsburgh. Yes.
One question I had, I'll have an IEP meeting coming up Thursday, and I requested, but I wanted to know, should I go along with this, is for a homebound instruction.
Okay.
There's homebound instruction and instruction conducted in the home. So I believe it's the instruction conducted in the home, like when they send a teacher from the school district, and they come into the home. So my son is doing cyber school, and still needing assistance from an instructor, I believe. Is that a wide move or not?
Is that a?
Bring a teacher or instructor into our home.
Okay, what is the question? I'm sorry. I know we're dealing with.
A homebound instructor.
Yes.
Have you seen benefits in, or is your knowledge on a homebound instructor coming into the home to work with the student?
It all depend. It all depend on why they coming. If the kid is on grade level, then I don't think it's a problem. If the kid is behind, they're not likely to catch up with homebound instruction, because a lot of times the homebound instructing teaching is lazy. She don't really want to be there. And they only give them a couple hours a day. Sometimes it's like 2-3 hours. Don't get me wrong. You can homeschool a kid with 3 hours, but the homebound instructor doesn't tend to come with that level of commitment to the child. So if a child can make it in school, I'm sending my kid to school. If a child can make it in school. If they have to be homebound instructed, then, I would tell the school, I want to meet with who you plan on having homebound instruct my child, because I want to make sure that they're serious about this, so my child isn't wasting their time. Because I rarely have I seen an effective homebound instructor teacher. Most of the time they come in and they already looking to leave as soon as they get to the house. So, they're probably going to have to give me a couple people to choose from, but I'm just not going to take anybody they sending me. And I would let them know that up front.
Okay, for alternative. And the next question I had, thank you, is is there a Black independent parent organization in Pittsburgh?
Yes, ma'am. And if you need the sister's contact, you can text me for it, and I'll send it to you through a text.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Is there another question on the call?
Yes, Dr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Where you calling from?
How you doing, sir? I'm calling from Beach Island, South Carolina, home of the Godfather Soul James Brown.
Yes, sir.
The reason why my question is, I substitute. I work work at a nuclear facility, Savannah Riverside, but I substitute on the side. And I substitute in Augusta, Georgia, which is a neighboring city next to Beach Island. And what's been going on in Augusta, which has been going on in the two-county area, Aiken County and Richmond County, which Augusta is in Richmond County. We have a lot of technology that's going on through the areas. And what's been going on for decades almost is that when that technology hits these areas, it usually are the private schools that benefit. Augusta, Georgia has probably about 5 or 6 predominantly black high schools, and they are left out of the mix. What's going on now is cyber science is hitting the country heavily. It is definitely hitting the Richmond County area, the Augusta Richmond County area, real heavy. And what I've seen is that the private schools are already jumping on it, providing classes. How do I present, or what do you think is the best way to present to the school board to say, hey, look, you're leaving your predominantly black high schools out again? What do you think is the best recourse as far as doing that?
Okay, and the predominantly black high schools are being left out of what again?
Well, you know, every time the technology hits the area, and now it's cyber science or cyber security, we have 2 or 3 firms that are hitting the area real heavy, and the private schools have already jumped on it, or they've been able to merge as far as educating our high school students, or the private school students, as far as cybersecurity, cyber sciences. You know, like I said before, I sub at some of these schools on my days off and volunteer on the other days. And I see the lack of interest, I don't know, of the schools or the firms or the school districts to try to educate our students about cybersecurity and cyber science. We have a local Army base, Fort Gordon, that's very heavy into cybersecurity and cyber science. So, you know, I see it happening because I'm in the nuclear field, and it's happened with the nuclear field over the decades. So I guess I'm asking you, what is the best presentation or you know, that I could get to the school board and say, hey, look, again, you're failing our kids again when it comes to technology.
Okay, that's a policy issue. So I guess I would first look into...
I know I have to go to the school board. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I would say I would first want to look into see what the school board's policy is right now on instruction in technology. Like, what are they doing? I would first find out what are they doing, if anything at all. And if they're not, then I would introduce that piece, the whole cybersecurity piece, as something that they need to adopt. So I would want to find out what is the process for the school board, including or improving, okay, the curriculum that is currently established for the high schools. That's what I would do. You know, why are we not looking at this, and what is the process to get this included?
Okay.
And I think you need to write up the proposal so you can give it up. I think you need to get put on the agenda for the next school board meeting so you can do a presentation on that. I would also get a petition signed on that, and I would also contact my state rep and state senators to find out if they will support it as well, because they can introduce it on the state level. They can make it a law. The district can make it a policy, but your elected state officials can make it a law. So I think you should go at it both ways. I would deal with the district, but then I would deal with the state too, because you don't know who's going to act on it sooner. So I would go both routes. I would go, to try to get it introduced as a bill, that this be included in all the high schools. So that's where your state rep and state senator come in. But then I would still deal with it on the local level and try to get it made as policy.
Okay, that sounds excellent. And my mom, she's a city councilwoman in Aiken, the city of Aiken. So, yeah, I need my butt beat on that one.
Definitely.
Well, I appreciate it, King. Thank you again, man.
Thanks a lot.
We're always watching you and always support you. Thank you again.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, come to South Carolina to Georgia sometimes.
Oh, yes, sir. I should be in Columbia for Black History Month. Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, man, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll be in Atlanta. I'll be in Atlanta on a Thursday, December 28th.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We're going to put those dates down.
All right, my brother.
All right, man. Peace and love, man.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Is there another question on the call?
What were those dates in South Carolina again?
For South Carolina, I'll be in Columbia in February. I don't have the exact date yet, but I'll be in Columbia, South Carolina in February. And I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia for Kwanzaa, Thursday, December the 28th at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. And I'll be in Houston on the 30th, 2 days later, also at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. December 30th, Houston, December 28th, Atlanta, New Year's Day, Detroit. Long Beach, California, November the 18th. Nat Turner Land, Virginia, November the 11th. Warm Daddies here in Philadelphia with Kindred, the Family Soul. I'll be at Warm Daddies this coming Monday, November the 6th. Sanford, Florida, November the 25th, Black Friday, Sanford, Florida. Is there another question on the call?
Yes.
Where you calling from, sis?
I'm calling from Oakland, California.
Oakland, California. I need a venue in Oakland. Oakland, Sacramento, San Francisco. Oakland, Sacramento, San Francisco. I've been waiting 2 years for a venue. No one has found me one yet, so I guess y'all don't need me to come out there. But go ahead, good sister.
We do. Really, really do.
Mute your phones, people. Mute your phones. Go right ahead, sis. All right, you got to find me a venue. No venue, no visit. No venue, no visit.
Question really doesn't pertain to school, but it does pertain to parenting. I'm a single mother of 2 kids, and my son is autistic. He's 6. And I don't have a male role model for him. So people are telling me, put him in sports, do this. Do you have any suggestions?
I'm not against sports, but I think there's other things you can do besides sports. You know, there's African martial arts, there's chess clubs, there's robotics. I mean, there's a lot of things besides sports. But because you're in Oakland, I would be surprised if there weren't some sort of rites of passage out there, because there's consciousness in Oakland. If you send me a text message, I will contact the people I know out there and see what they know about a rites of passage for your son. So shoot me a text and I'll see what I can find for you. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Thanks a lot, sis.
Thank you.
All righty. And we're going to go up until 9 o'clock, good people, just so you know. Is there another question on the call?
Hi.
Yes, ma'am. Where are you calling from?
Hi, I have a question.
Where are you calling from?
New York.
Yes, ma'am.
I was interested in opening schools, but one of the issues that I'm finding is that things that I would want to teach probably aren't okayed. How do you think I could go about that?
I don't know what you mean when you say they're not okayed. If it's a private school, you can basically teach what you want. If you're not getting public funding. Charter school, you got to get it approved. So there's no way around that. The district has, and the state has to approve your curriculum if you're going to operate a charter school, because you're getting public funds. So you have to contact the district.
Common Core?
It depends on whether
It
depends on whether your district, follows Common Core or not. Not every district follows Common Core. So you would have to find out. You would have to get the charter school application from your district and see.
And then if it's public, I'm
anything goes, pretty much.
Got you. All right. So you're good on that, good sister? All right. Is there another question on the call? Okay.
Dr. Umar, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, sir. Where you calling from?
Okay, I'm calling from New York.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Regis calling from New York. My question more of a little scenario in a way. I got a call from ACS Friday, pretty much in reference to a report of suspected child abuse and maltreatment. The day prior, I went to school to drop my daughter off, as I always do every day, and she was taking her jacket off. And she, took a little while. She was displaying a little attitude. So I was like, happy. Yeah, hurry up, for that to give you a pop. And I guess the teacher heard that. I'm not guessing, the teacher heard it, and she was the one that complained out. The ACF worker didn't tell me who made it, but I suspected that she did, because she was the only one there. So, now they want to house, it's like,
You still there, bro?
Yeah, did you get that? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you finish the question? It didn't sound like it was complete.
Yeah, it was like, well, I wonder, like, how do I go about, and I'm going to come to the house today because they set up an appointment to come, I guess, see whatever. But I just want to know how to go about doing, a little.
Well, you got to first see what they're saying. And you said they overheard what again? What did they hear?
No, I told her, what I told her, she would get pop off in terms of, whooping, you can say like that, as a term. But I do not put my hands on my kids. I talk to them, and that's what works. That's what discipline them, keep them in line.
Gotcha.
So, I guess she took it out of context, whatever, and reported it. So, but I know it's her.
Got you. I think you'll be fine. Try to audio record it if you can. Best case scenario, have a lawyer there, but try to audio record it. Let them know you're going to audio record the conversation.
Great.
But I think you'll be fine.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Because there was no marks on the child, right? There was no marks on the child.
No, there are no marks. I do not physically put my hands on my kids.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine.
My best was keeping them in line. Never have to put my hands on them because they work. You know what I mean?
Got you. Okay. Yeah, you should be fine on that.
All right, great, man. Thanks for that.
All right, bro. We're down to our last 10 minutes. Is there another question on the call?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Where you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from Aurora, Illinois.
Yes.
I guess I just need more of a suggestion from you. I have been pretty much fighting IEP for my 12-year-old daughter for the last 3 years. On this IEP, I read your book, about your book, and it helped my oldest son, that is 15, and on an IEP. It works when they have some issues, but her issue is, like you said, she's a little lazy. So during the summer, we homeschool with her, and we start to pull her grades and stuff up, so they stopped trying to put her on the IEP. So then it just got kind of bigger. It got broader. They, the school pulled all of the black kids and all of the Mexican kids in the auditorium and basically told them that they had to lowest scores in the district, and basically kind of demean the kids. So what I want to ask you is, because I know since you travel, what is the best way to try to get the black parents together? Because I see that's the only way they're going to stop trying to just keep throwing our kids on IEPs and pulling them into auditoriums and demeaning them. And I've talked to a teacher who has tried in the past, but she is hitting brick walls with our people. But I don't know what we try. So I just need some suggestions on how I can get our kids. They were in the suburbs of Chicago. And
how far are you from Chicago? How far? How far are you from Chicago?
I'm 30 minutes. I'm 30 minutes outside of Chicago.
How many black people are out there where you at?
I'm near Naperville. Most people know where Naperville is, but I'm
how many black people out there? How many black people?
Huh?
How many of us are out there? A little bit? How many of us are out there?
I'll say since I've been out here 20 years. When I moved out here, I would say when I was going to the grocery store, this is how I can tell. I would be the only black woman in a grocery store. Now when I go to the grocery store, it's a lot of us there. This is only, so because of what's going on in Chicago, we got a lot of people moving from Chicago to the suburbs. So now the school districts don't know what to do with our children. So they are having, it's like a IEP frenzy. You know, that's what's happening out here now. And, since I did my research and, I know what's about to happen. And, I'm just kind of scared for our children because I know how it's going to go down with them. And I'm trying to get the parents together. And I don't know whether I should do a PTO to be connected to the schools or should I do something more independent away from the schools.
Both. I mean, you could be on the PTO or have somebody there to find out what they're up to, but you also got to organize separately. You could consider joining our organization, National Independent Black Parent Association. Our next conference is going to be is likely going to be in Miami in January, and you have to come to a conference in order to lead a chapter. You have to get the training, so that's one way to go. I was asking you how many of us were out there because I was considering maybe I could make a trip out there, and do a seminar for the parents, if you think you can get them out, because I hate to go places where, the word really wasn't gotten out and people, are not there because they didn't know, so if that's something that you're interested in doing, helping me find a place where we can make that happen, I don't have a problem coming out there.
Okay, Dr. Johnson, I can do that. Because it's quite a few, like I said, because of the Chicago violence in Chicago, we have pulled our numbers out here. It's a lot of black people out here in surrounding suburbs. So if you give me your information, tell me how I can go about getting in contact with you. And you said about the conference, get more information about the conference.
Okay, you can text me. My cell number is 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858.
9858. 215-989-9858.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your work. The last conference, me and my husband, we tripled up. Me, my husband, and two other couples were there at that church on the west side. So I really appreciate your work. Been following you a lot. And you've changed our lives. I just want you to know that, and I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. You have a good day.
You too now.
And bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Is there another question on the call? Remember, I'm still school hunting too, family. I'm still school hunting. So if y'all see any schools for sale in your area with a for sale sign on it, please take a picture of the school and the for sale sign and text it to me along with the address and the name of the school. So we still school hunting. We're trying to have a school by New Year's Day. That's the goal. So help me out by finding what you can find in terms of the schools. Monday, November 6th, Dr. Umar will be here in Philadelphia at Warm Daddies with Kindred the Family Soul. Warm Daddies, 7 o'clock program. You can get your tickets for Warm Daddies at, let me find it up here. It is kindredpresents.ticketleap.com. kindredpresents.ticketleap.com for Monday, November 6th. Saturday, November 11th, we will be down in Nat Turner land honoring Nat Turner on the day he was executed. That's Saturday, November the 11th from about 1 until 6. You can call Elder Khalifa to register. Text me for the flyer. Okay. November the 18th, Long Beach, California, Black Consciousness Conference. November the 18th, Long Beach, California, Black Consciousness Conference. November the 25th, Sanford, Florida, Orlando. I will be in Sanford, Florida for Black Friday. Queens, New York, December 3rd. Queens, New York City, December 3rd. Queens, New York City, December 3rd. Atlanta, Thursday, December the 28th for Kwanzaa. Houston, Saturday, December 30th for Kwanzaa. And Detroit, New Year's Day, January 1st, Detroit. You can get your tickets for Atlanta, Dr. Umar Atlanta 2017.eventb.com. Dr. Umar Detroit 2017.eventb.com. Dr. Umar Houston 2017.eventb.com. We will no longer be using Eventbrite. Spread the word, spread the word. We will no longer be using Eventbrite. We will now be using EventB. Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson .eventb.com. All right. If you need to text me, 215-989-9858. If you need to text me, 215-989-9858. If you need to leave a voice message, 844-4DRUMAR. If you need to leave a voice message, 844-4 Dr. Umar. Email drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. FDMG resumes @gmail.com. Donations, GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar for the donations. You can also mail them in. FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, PA 19132. So, on that note, let me just double check. Any more questions? Okay. On that note,
I have a question, but
go ahead, Queen. Where you calling from? Where you calling from?
I'm in Minnesota.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so my son is in 5th grade, and he has a rare form of Down syndrome, and he's been mainstreamed this whole time. But every year I'm always told that he needs to be in a self-contained program, and I've been fighting that. This year, I had a very specific issue with the teacher where my husband and I were both sick, and I told my son not to do it because we always do homework together. Our kids, there are 2 kids. I cook. They do homework together. My husband and I tag team with my son to help him. And but my husband has a brain tumor. I have a nerve condition. We both were down that night. So I said, don't do your homework. I will text your teacher, and we'll catch up tomorrow. The teacher decided that my son still should be punished for not doing his homework and made him miss recess. And it turned into this big thing where they want to make it an IEP issue, and I stress that it's not an IEP issue, it's a teacher issue. So I've escalated to the principal. They want to write things into his IEP saying that where they want to reduce the complexity of his homework so that he can do it alone versus having his parents help, which I don't really understand.
well, they've kind of ignored me for the last couple of weeks. So we met early October, and they haven't responded to me since. I went ahead and said, well, if you want to handle it via the IEP, I will. And I said that he should not be penalized with recess for any situation. I want to have input into what his homework is, and the curriculum and things like that. And so I guess I want to know, how long do they have to respond to me with the IEP changes? And if you have any other advice as to ways I can use the IEP to not allow them to punish my child.
What grade is your child in?
He's in 5th grade.
And what is his disability classification?
It's learning delay, I think.
Learning disability. Okay, first of all, you need to find out what that is. If a child is in special ed, we need to know why they're there. So we can't think. You should know. So make sure you figure that out. Now, your issue, run this through me again. Your main issue that you're having again is what?
My main issue is that I have specific things that I've asked them for. They are pushing back, so then I tried to use the IEP, and then we had an IEP meeting, but then instead of them developing accommodations based on that conversation, now they're just ignoring me, basically.
Okay, you want to have a conversation about what about the IEP? Tell me this again.
Sure. So I want to have input into the curriculum, and I want it to be so that he can't be disciplined with losing recess if he doesn't do things like his homework.
Okay, you don't want him disciplined with like losing recess if he doesn't do his homework.
Correct.
Why is he not doing his homework?
He is doing his homework. He didn't do his homework one day, and then that's how he was punished. Homework's been done every day since, but I do not want them to punish him.
Okay, so you need to call. Okay, so you need to write a letter to the principal of the school, request an IEP meeting because you want some changes to the IEP, which is the program. And when you get to the meeting, and you're not going to go alone because you should never go alone, you're going to tell them that I want it written to his IEP that he cannot be punished by missing recess for not getting his homework done. Or I don't want missing recess to be a punishment at all. You can have that written into the IEP, and then it'll be law. If it's not in the IEP, it's not law. Whatever's in the IEP, they must follow. So.
Sure. If I've had the meeting and then I haven't received an IEP, how long do they have to present me a new IEP after we've had an IEP meeting?
Okay. When you have an IEP meeting, if there's any changes to the IEP, they should be done right there. You should leave the meeting with the IEP unless there's a lot. Because you can write on the IEP, and a lot of times if it's a computerized IEP, they will show up. They will show up with the computer and the printer. They can do all that on the spot. So, for example, what you're talking about, adding that change with regard to him not being punished, with loss of recess, that can be added on the spot. There's no reason why you cannot leave with that. The only time you don't leave with an IEP is if there's just so much that got to be typed up. They can't do it at the meeting. But if it's something simple like that, you should leave with that already done. You should leave with that already done.
Okay. Well, it's been about 2.5 weeks since we had the meeting, and no one's gotten back to me.
Then you need to write a letter to the principal. You need to write a letter to the principal asking what's going on. And if you don't hear nothing in the week, you're going to write a letter to the director of special ed for the school district. And if you don't hear from the director of special ed in a week, you're going to write a letter to the superintendent.
Okay.
They have to get back in touch with you. But what was the change we were looking for the IEP? Like you said, you had a meeting, they didn't get back to you. Was there anything changed? Because there is no new IEP unless something was changed or added or taken away. So did they need to give you another one? Did y'all change anything or add something?
Yes, we added several things. We added that the homework would be routed through the resource teacher for adjustment. So he should get the same material, but he just doesn't have to do all of it. So he can either do one page or do a couple of problems from each section, so that he gets all the intended lessons, not as much. That was one change. And then I wanted the recess to not be a penalty. Like he can use the tutoring time to do his homework. He can do other things, even though, like I said, he hasn't missed homework since one day, and it turned into this problem. So
yeah, it's time for a letter. It's time for you to start writing the letters. It's time for you to start writing the letters now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go to the director of special ed. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. And when you go to the director of special ed, carbon copy the superintendent for the district. Carbon copy the superintendent.
Okay.
All right. Is there another question on the call? All right. So on that note, family, we're going to close it out. We'll be back next Tuesday. Monday, Warm Daddy, 6 o'clock. I want to see all my Philadelphia family out at Warm Daddy's on Monday, November 6th. Get your tickets at kindredpresents.ticketleap.com. Kindred Presents at ticketleap.com. Stop talking about my library, okay? This is the Unapologetically African Library. We have over 10,000 books. Probably the most comprehensive private library in the Black conscious community, more than any bookstore I've been to. But nonetheless, brothers and sisters, stay up, keep the faith, keep me in your prayers. A lot of wars going on right now against Dr. Umar Johnson, a lot of wars, you know, but we shall prevail. Appreciate the love, protect the kids, and hopefully, God willing, by New Year's Day, we will have a school. And make sure you read the book of the century, Psychoacademic Holocaust, the Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys. You need to reach me, DrUmarJohnson.com. 215-989-9858 or DrUmarJohnson@yahoo.com. Do not order my book off of Amazon. Do not order my book off of Amazon. They're bootlegs. Okay, you can only get this book, Source of Knowledge Bookstore, Positive Vibes Bookstore, and myself. That's it. Source of Knowledge Bookstore in Newark, Positive Vibes Bookstore, Virginia Beach, and from Dr. Umar Johnson. If you need the link, text me and I'll send you the link to order the book. DrUmarJohnson@yahoo or 215-989-9858. Peace and Black Power.